residing around the Vauxhall Park area. I just wanted to check it out. I wanted to see what the crack was.
Yeah.
So it's like it smells.
Right.
Yeah, it
was
does.
that surprising? Or?
In a way, no, it smells... No, to be fair, actually, I must say, they are a very, very nice bunch. But there's a lot of eccentric people there.
Yeah, you tend to find that. Loving, though, I bet.
They are loving. I saw several people getting arrested, and they go floppy when they get arrested, right? They go really floppy, so that the police come. But I was interviewing one guy, and I was like, he'd just been arrested, and he was like, "Yeah, this is it. We're going to save the planet." I went, "Just have interest, mate. What do you do?" He goes, "I'm a trained doctor." And I was like, "Can you do that with a criminal record?" He was like, No.
Off.
Oh, no. Back of the van, off your trot, see you in a bit. Yeah, so I don't know if they've necessarily thought a lot of this through, but hey, you know what? It was a good evening.
It was. Well, look, no doubt we'll be talking.
Not for Dr. Steve.
Doc. No. Dr. Steve.
Oh, Dr.
Oh,
Steve.
no way.
I know, he's one of the good guys.
Oh, you have to let me know if you know any others I can go and see. About the odd.
He said he'd keep your secrets.
No, I appreciate that. Well, if he's in prison, then obviously it's going to be difficult for that to come out. So we're going to be talking more about that later, and I'm sure some of the front pages. Right, we have to talk more about this Bulgarian incident.
Well, it's all over.
It's all over the papers.
Literally all over the papers.
It frustrates me because we spoke about it so much yesterday. No doubt we're going to be talking about it a lot today because it just baffles me. It really does. And I'm glad the papers have gone as strong as they have again today because but the problem is, I guess, is that as much as there is so much awareness here, and it's certainly not perfect here, far from it, but it's improving, I would argue. The problem is, what are the papers saying in Bulgaria? Like, what's the media coverage over there? Do they care? Like, we have no idea. All right, the Bulgarian president's resigned.
They're trying to palm it off a little bit on us, so this is interesting. So I had a little bit of a search through some Bulgarian media outlets, and what they were saying was essentially, England are very sensitive.
Yeah.
And that basically, there was some maybe chanting, but we didn't really hear anything.
Basically, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words should never hurt you.
Yeah, or indeed monkey chants and Nazi salutes.
Yeah, either or.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting that didn't make it into the nursery rhyme, isn't it?
No, it's strange.
Yeah.
Just that could have been like the follow-up. Yeah. The follow-up to their hit.
The remix.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, look, we are, of course, going to talk about... We're going to be speaking to lots of people about this again today, and... Look, hopefully it's something that the sanctions that are put in place are a little bit firmer this time, because I know the papers touched on the fact that some of the fines previously have been pitiful.
So I was thinking this, right? So you know how in Italy they've had all these, similar things, and the fans have come out and gone, "Oh, it's only because you're good, take it as a compliment." And so the reason that they're doing it is to try to put you off so that their team win, right? It's not actually, it is racism. Obviously it is racism. But as in, bizarrely, I think their main focus is to try and put off a particular player in order so that their team wins, right? I don't think that in some really kind of uneducated, really weird, horrible way, it's not necessarily that all of them are just out and out racist, despite the fact that by definition they kind of are, right? So that's why I reckon the Bulgarian lot swanned off mostly after about 35 minutes, because we were battering them. They were going to have no impact on the fact that their team are absolutely naff. They were going to get stuffed anyway, and nothing that they could say or do from the sidelines was going to change that, especially because of the good strength of character of England's black players, of course. So I think that's just an angle on it that I haven't really heard taken before, which is, when we were like, they just kind of went off after a bit. It's like, yeah, because they realised that no amount of Nazi salutes and monkey noises was going to put us off.
Effectively, it's the equivalent of turning up and telling me, "You're rubbish, you're rubbish, you're rubbish," to try and put them off.
And then you're 5-0 down, and then you go, right, well, that's it now. I'm just going to look like even more of a mug. Standing it, which again, I'm not saying it as an excuse, I'm just saying it as that's the kind of warped logic that I think a lot of these people have.
Interesting. What do you guys think? 0208 70 20 558. We can hear from a Bulgarian journalist, Metodi Shoemaker, who admitted it's a damaging day for his country.
To be honest, I'm just sad. I was hoping that we could prove people wrong, but instead we confirmed some doubts, and our country's reputation has been damaged badly.
That was Metodi Shumanov, who... Yeah, I got it wrong.
Oh, mate.
I mean, you see shoe and an M.
Shoemaker.
You just think it's shoemaker, but it was Shumanov.
Yeah, and his brother, Olaf Kobler.
And his sister in the family? Or?
Elena Taylor. Yeah.
Very good. Very, very good. But it was a damaging day. Interestingly, the captain is probably the only one who's coming out with any credit from the Bulgarian team. There's a bit of news on him today in the papers as well. The fact that he was the one, of course, over with the fans, pleading with them to stop what they were doing. And he has come out with some credit.
Yeah, he has. He applies his trade in Russia.
Yeah.
And he went over at half time, obviously, and kind of just said, look, like, please stop it. Which apparently, actually, because we could only see the back of his head, like on the telly, because he was by the railings where all the fans were. He was saying that actually while he was doing it, the fans were giving him an absolute load of stick for it. And he basically just said, look, it's 11v11 out here. The colour of your skin doesn't matter. And apparently he was just getting it hurled at him while he was just asking him to stop.
Yeah. Well, look, we're going to be talking about this quite a lot today. Of course, we touched on the fact that Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett have avoided jail time. We'll be touching on that shortly, as well as the under-21s. Of course, a good victory. 3 wins from 3 so far in their qualifying campaign. We'll be speaking about Vinopola and David De Gea, who suffered an injury. Looks like Romero may start at the weekend against Liverpool. The time is 17 minutes to 7.
This is Love Sport.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Tenna men. Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're right.
Secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're in.
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
When looking for the best possible deal for his car insurance, Jim went on a spokesmansaid.com and saved hundreds.
I'm Jim. I'm a radio presenter based in Glasgow. I couldn't believe how expensive the car insurance for our Citroen C4 Picasso was going to be from my existing insurer. I went on a Spokesman Said and saved an incredible £600. Just amazing.
Find quotes from over 100 leading insurance providers at a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
There are fewer than 20 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
I've heard that England does not have a kidney bank, but it does have a Liverpool.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee Patrick. Christys here with you until 10. Now it's time for this.
It's business. It's business time. I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it's time for business. It's business time. Ooh, it's business.
Morning, Chris.
Morning. Good morning.
Chris Bailey, founder of financialorbit.com. How are we this fine morning?
I'm good. It's a bit dark and dreary out there.
It's miserable, isn't it?
It is. But, there you go.
This is it, and this is why we...
20, I was going to say, 20 days or less than 15 days to Brexit or something, anything's possible.
Well, this is it. This is why we liven up the mood in the morning. And this is why, one of the reasons, Chris, people look forward to this phone call we have every morning because they know they get their little dose of Chris Bailey and everything's different in the world. So let's start with Mark Carney. He wades in on the climate debate.
Hey. Well, Mark Carney is the governor of the Bank of England, obviously. So normally talking about interest rates. But today he's talking, or yesterday even, he's talking about apocalypse, which is very exciting. Basically, he said that companies that don't sort of adhere to zero carbon aims and related are going to go out of business. Now, I'm not quite sure whether that's because the world is going to burn up completely and hence put them out of business directly, or whether just that consumers are going to sort of move away from them because they don't agree with their environmental policies. But either way, it's not good news. So I guess he's trying to tell people, go green.
Well, there you go. And Royal Mail Christmas strike looms. That's not good.
That's not good, no. I mean, it'd be nice to sort of get a card telling us that they were going to go on strike. I guess it won't be delivered, will it? But no, 97% of postal workers went for a strike, basically on pay conditions, uncertainty. Clearly, the Royal Mail was privatised a few years back. There's been some concerns, particularly within the unions of the company, that this has had a lot of issues. There's been periodic strikes. Last year, there was the threat of a strike which was lifted right near the time. It could happen again, but it does seem a bit more serious and a bit more full on this time, hence the overwhelming support for those who actually voted. So, yeah, not good. Post your Christmas cards early, maybe next week.
Yeah, sounds that way. Northern Powerhouse seeks more control of HS2 rail scheme.
Well, this is kind of inevitable, isn't it? Now, you recall the basic maths on the HS2. It's about 80-odd billion quid, so unsurprisingly, it's come under a bit of pressure at the moment because there's a few other things to pay for, Brexit deals and Boris's haircut and whatever else. So there's all those sort of issues in the background. The Northern Powerhouse, centred around Manchester and Leeds and whatever, which was going to benefit from kind of the second half of the HS2 project, not just the London-Birmingham bit, but a bit further north. They're a bit worried the government's going to cancel it, hence what they want. They're lobbying for more control in order to basically get their hands on it, try and fund it themselves or find other solutions for it, which kind of makes a bit of sense, actually. I think that's what does sound kind of what you should be doing in sort of a devolution policy, except, of course, you want to make sure that the train lines kind of link up. It'd be a bit of a blow if they kind of built this nice high-speed rail link between Manchester and Leeds and then it didn't link up with a bit down south.
Yeah, not ideal, no. Well, Chris, as always, how's today looking for you out of interest? Are you...
How's today looking? Today's looking somewhat mad. I'm on a variety of calls and then an excitable conference call at 9:15 tonight. So let's just do the maths quickly. I've been up since 4, 9:15 call tonight. Am I going to be performing at the appropriate level? Of course, 18 coffees down, it's going to be all right.
Well, this is it. You only say two words anyway, right, Chris? It's buy and sell. So
sometimes it's
right.
trade.
Buy, sell, trade.
That's right, with two phones stuck to each ear.
Sometimes, sorry.
Is that true, Chris?
Basically, yeah. Basically, Patrick's tapped my line, essentially. But there's lots of sort of long syllable words in the middle, but essentially that's it.
Fantastic. Chris, as always, really appreciate having you on. We will speak to you tomorrow, all being well. Chris
Sounds the plan.
Bailey, founder of financialorbit.com. I do enjoy having Chris on in the morning. Patrick, want to touch on a few of the other, let's say, smaller stories. Of course, the big story is still very much in regards to the Bulgarian FA. The president, Borislav Mikhailov, has resigned over the racism on Monday night. Want to touch on the 21s. Great victory for them. They're looking strong. More so, they want to touch on David De Gea, who looks like he could be injured for the game at the weekend. Looks like Romero could play. David De Gea picked up an injury in the game for Spain last night. Played well, by all accounts, but limped off. Sounds like he is a doubt. Yeah. How much of a miss, going into the game at the weekend, we're going to touch on some of the games as well this weekend, but going into the game at the weekend, how much of a miss will David De Gea be, given that he seems to have found a bit of form again?
Well, yeah, there is that, isn't there? That he just seems to have found a bit of form. However, Sergio Romero has impressed me every single time he's played.
Yeah.
He's made some fantastic saves. He looks very commanding of his area. And he clearly has the trust of his back four, whatever permutation that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to play. Look, I don't think that David De Gea in net was going to be particularly worrying Liverpool anyway, because Liverpool are kind of like the hot knife to Manchester United's butter, aren't they? They're just going to carve their way through, spread them on toast, and then devour them as they win the league.
There you go. What do you guys think? Go to 08 70 20 558. Thanks for those of you that have been in touch. See, a few of our regulars have been in touch. Of course, Clive is always in touch. He hasn't made any comments about you yet this morning, but it is still early days. I see we have several others through as well. We try and read out as many as we possibly can. So, as always, 0208 70 20 558 or at Love Sport Radio on the socials. I want to touch on Vinny Vinipola. He's back in training, fighting to be fit for the game against the Aussies. We're talking about that. Lewis Hamilton with an interesting Instagram post. UEFA, are they fit for purpose?
Oh, okay. No.
Done.
Yeah, that's it. A one-word article. No. Well, no, but they're not, because they saw fit to make everyone trek over to Azerbaijan, didn't they? Where I think I'm right in saying, and I mean, I've not checked this, but you needed to ride a goat from the airport to the stadium because it's the only form of transport.
Not. I mean, that might be true. We can't confirm.
I'm pretty sure it is, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you get that, the only booze was fermented yak's milk.
Right. Yep.
And then you watch some bang average football from what looked like a mile and a half away because of the amount of the athletics track that was around the pitch. So there's that, isn't there? And there's their relentless inability to clamp down on racism, which I probably should have led in with.
Yeah. Well, do we state that the initial part is unfounded or?
Oh, got the yak's milk thing.
Yes.
Yeah. No, not true.
Not true.
No.
And in fact, moving and taking players using goats isn't necessarily true. No. Because I was thinking of the logistics of taking all the kit that they need to. You need one big goat.
Oh,
or
massive.
maybe several.
Yeah, well, they breed them big in Azerbaijan.
Right, okay. Monster goat.
But, monster goat. But yeah, so UEFA have fined Slovakia $9,000 and put them under a one-match stadium closure. This was for monkey chanting in 2002. Then in 2019, they fined Montenegro $17,000, one-game stadium closure after monkey chanting. And we're yet to see exactly what's going to happen here with Bulgaria. But, I mean, I'm not being funny, but I think as a rule, if I could pay the fine, then it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just generally. Like, that's not okay, is it?
I mean, that would be a reasonable rule for them to put in there. Can Patrick Christys pay this?
Because the answer should be absolutely no. I'm struggling to afford rice, mate, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
If I can pay a fine that was dished out to the entire Slovakian FA for monkey chanting, that's not a fine that's big enough.
I suppose the problem is with this, and this is it, they've always gone down the route of fines. Does that actually impact the people? Because ultimately, do they care?
Well,
all right, our Bulgarian FA have been fined $50,000. So what?
Yeah, because that money presumably will come somewhere from the government anyway, and that's like, where's that really come from? You know, so you're just not finding anyone that really matters.
No, well, look, they're under a lot of pressure at the moment, of course, not surprisingly. Want to touch as well on the 21s. They had a good win last night. Hudson-Odoi on the score sheet, and Nketiah shared 5 goals between them. Hudson-Odoi, good to see him back.
Yes, very, very good to see him back and firing as well, which is nice. And obviously England, as you've said, they're 5, Austria 1. So the kids are all right, definitely. But yeah, Hudson-Odoi is just another one who just looks like he's ready to break on at any particular point. Just for the record, in case anyone's really bothered, the England under-21s group, they are top of it. Austria are second in that. So we've beaten the team that's second to us 5-1, which is pretty decent.
Yeah, that's looking pretty good. We can hear from Hudson-Odoi on his long-term England ambitions.
Yeah, I always look to the seniors no matter what. Whenever I get the opportunity to go over there, I always want to try and impress and do my best that I can whenever opportunity comes. And I'm just trying to go back to club football now, try and work my hardest there, and hopefully the opportunity will come whenever it is. And I'm trying to keep working hard, keep improving, and hopefully the opportunity will come.
You feel like with Hudson-Odoi it'll be a matter of time as opposed to when, sorry. I mean, and it's good to see him fully fit. I did worry when he had the injury that he did. It can be the kind of injury that could impact a player, not, of course, the whole getting fit, but of course the type of player he is, so dynamic, whether it's the type of injury that could actually impact that. But he seems to have come back pretty strong, pretty fit, and you'd like to think that over the next few months he's only going to get fitter. He's got to be one that's going to have an outside chance of next summer.
Oh, I would have thought so, absolutely. I mean, as long as he keeps his progression and he can stay fit, there's no reason why not. Like, he looks steady, he looks ready.
He also commented on the racism in Bulgaria.
Discrimination is something that's not right. We're all equal. Everyone should be treated fairly. And obviously, seeing that happen yesterday was nasty. But the boys dealt with it really well. I think everybody had the collective decision that we should stay on the pitch and cope with what's happened. And I think the manager and the captain did really well to settle everything down, speak to the referee and everything. And we did really well. And I'm happy that everything settled really well. We got the goals that we deserved. We worked really hard as a team, and they deserved everything that they got. So I'm really happy for the boys yesterday. And obviously, discrimination is not right in the game.
Is it good to see how eloquently the players have spoken on this issue?
Yeah, I think a couple of things, right, actually. First and foremost, Gareth Southgate acted like you'd almost want the Prime Minister to act. Should we start a petition for Gareth Southgate to be PM?
The problem is then with the New England manager.
Nah.
Could he do both?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem that hard to be.
No, right, because the polling, in terms of popularity, is directly linked to how well we do at football anyway, right? So if we win a World Cup, or have a good war, but if we win a World Cup, then your polling data goes straight through the roof.
So basically it's win a World Cup or have a war.
Essentially.
Right.
And if we don't win the World Cup, we will go to war.
Right.
So Gareth Southgate, as long as he's got the bottle for it, will be absolutely fine. How are the Falklands?
There you go, Gareth Southgate, 4 p.m. What do you guys think? Go to 08 70 20 558.
Seriously though, the guy is a diplomatic legend. The way he dealt up, fronted up, kept his dignity, rallied the troops, led the team, always said and did the right thing, followed protocol. The guy, and he looked dashing, didn't he?
He did, although he has ditched the waistcoat these days. I'm aware of that. And I always wonder whether it's going to come back, but it hasn't, which is a little bit disappointing.
Well, look, only Gareth will know why.
Yeah.
Only Gareth will know why. Maybe he's allergic to the
I was
lining.
about to say, do you think the issue could be a little bit deeper than just simply a change of heart?
Oh, do you reckon?
I don't know.
Like what?
Well, like
Doesn't
maybe...
look like he's put weight on.
Well, that's it. Maybe they were like a little bit too tight and it dug in a little bit and maybe caused a rash.
I bet. I tell you what it was. I bet it wasn't sustainable fashion, and we know he's all about that.
Maybe. 3 minutes to 7.
This is Love Sport.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident, and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
All right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you all the way until 10 a.m. We've got lots to come in the next hour. We're going to be speaking to Kieran Maguire, football finance lecturer at the University of Liverpool, talking about Ed Woodward. Claims that on-field success is irrelevant to making United money. The market disagrees. We're also going to be talking more about our top stories, which, of course, much in regards to Bulgaria, the racism on Monday Light. Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett have avoided jail time. We'll also be talking more about De Gea's injury and David Cottrell. Interesting story about him. He owes over $400,000 to former players. As always, get in touch, 0208 70 20 558 or at Love Sport Radio on the socials.
On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 7. The parents of Harry Dunn were told the American woman involved in his death was in the room next door as they met Donald Trump at the White House last night. But they refused to meet Anne Sakoulas as they want any discussion to be on UK soil. Mrs Sakoulas left the UK following the crash in Northamptonshire in August. Their spokesperson, Rad Seeger, says they didn't know what was on the agenda before the meeting began.
But we came in good faith, and I have to say the president was warm. When we met him, he was generous. He extended his condolences, I thought perfectly appropriately, and made it clear that he understood the family's situation.
Brexit talks have continued through the small hours, missing a midnight deadline imposed by the EU's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, to reach a deal. Downing Street is hoping to get an agreement before an EU summit in Brussels starting tomorrow. Children as young as 4 have been caught carrying weapons in schools across England and Wales. New data shows youngsters have gone to class armed with hammers and even knuckle dusters. Teacher Vincent Azoma was stabbed by a pupil 4 years ago.
I was lucky to be alive.
So it was really a horrible experience. And that had made me not to go back to secondary school anymore. With the trend of things, I think it's becoming more unsafe in school.
Almost half of children taken to hospital with severe burns in the last 5 years were hurt by hot food or drink. Around 35,000 were admitted to specialist units in England and Wales over that period. The makers of Andrex have been told off after suggesting their toilet wipes are flushable. The Advertising Standards Authority says the claim was misleading because the product doesn't conform to UK standards. And Sheridan Smith has revealed she's expecting her first child. The singer and actress told passengers during a performance on a cruise ship that she's got a baby on board and is suffering from morning sickness. That's the latest. I'm Andy Hayes.
This is Love Sport.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like sponsored jobs, which increase the visibility of your post in search results to make sure the right candidates find you faster. And we give you free clones of your best employees. What's that? Oh, no cloning. But there are sponsored jobs.
See why more than 250,000 companies in the UK use Indeed for hiring. Visit Indeed.com/redeem today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting. Terms and conditions apply.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning. Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio, me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Let's touch on those headlines this morning. Still lots of fallout from Monday night. The Bulgarian FA president, Borislav Mihailov, has resigned over the racism. Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett avoid jail time after pleading guilty to drink driving and failing to stop at the scene of a car crash. We're going to be talking under-21s. They had a good win last night. Nketiah and Hudson-Odoi shared 5 goals in an away win against Switzerland. We'll also be talking a bit about David De Gea's injury, David Cottrell owing other players in excess of £400,000 and Billy Vinipola as well. I am joined, as ever, by Mr. Patrick Christys, and it's a good part of the day, isn't it, Patrick? And we know why?
Yes, we do, absolutely. This is it's up there with favourite little bit of my day.
Just those little moments of joy when the coffee arrives.
Oh, God, when the coffee arrives.
Smell it
That
in the
first
distance.
smell. I'm sure there are people now up and down the country experiencing exactly the same thing. It's just gone 7 a.m.
Yeah.
The alarm's gone off. And you need one of those alarms, actually, that is basically a kettle. Have you seen them?
No.
So you get kettle alarms.
Ooh.
So the alarm goes off, and as soon as it goes, you know, that annoying, like, and then it boils for you immediately. Instant cup of coffee, knock it back. Hello, world. Let's have it.
Yeah, carpe diem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sapere aude.
It is that first sip when it just burns your lip a little bit, hurts, a little bit annoying, but at the same time, so much satisfaction.
How often do we do this before we get stuck into the sport, by the way?
Yeah, let's
how
do
often,
that.
No, but how often does that happen where you're so hungry and you're waiting for a meal to arrive and it arrives and the very first mouthful is just hotter than the sun, isn't it?
Who plays that game where then you obviously have to wait for it to cool down, but you're so impatient that you end up eating it when it's way too hot and scars all over the inside of your mouth?
Do you lob it out or do you do the...
I do that.
Yeah, I do that as well. I sound like a pregnant lady.
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah.
Right, well look, there's so much to talk about today. Of course, a lot of the papers are still touching on the issues on Monday night. In fact, it's pretty much all over the papers' back pages. The Bulgarian FA president has resigned. We were saying earlier that the only real person to come out of any credit from Bulgaria at the moment, as it stands, is the captain. The fact that he did go over to the fans, sounds like he got dog's abuse when he did go over to the fans. But the fact that he did, there has to be some credit there. I don't know if there's anything we can necessarily do, but you almost want to applaud the guy.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Marcus Rashford came out online and just really praised him and heaped praise on him, and that was fantastic. But it's just a shame. Now, look, the latest on it is, I don't want us to dwell on this for too long because, like, we did obviously do a lot on it yesterday, and it is, it's everywhere, isn't it? But apparently, some of the stewards took their bibs off and joined in with the whole Nazi stuff.
Which is just insane.
And then it's emerging today, and this is in the Sun, that actually it was their plot to deliberately get the game cancelled.
Right.
So they wanted to get the game cancelled out of it. Now, this is the point, isn't it? Which is that if you have protocol, they don't care about the protocol, and they just want the game abandoned, then why on earth is that country having any fans in a stadium?
The thing is, we actually spoke about exactly this, where we said if you wanted to be some criminal mastermind and you know you've got 3 strikes, then you'll take up 2, and you'll hope that England walk off. Had England have walked off, we'd have had to forfeit that game. So, I mean, look, I don't even know whether there would have been that much thought that had gone into it, but it did seem that way. As soon as I had the second strike, so many of them then left the stadium. It was literally, right, it comes up on the tannoy, any racists, you've had your 2 strikes. Any racists, please leave now. Oh, okay, cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye
Enjoyed
now.
it.
See you in a bit.
See you next week.
Yeah.
But it was, and it's, I don't know. And then after that, it sounds like it was still continuing in the second half, but not to the same level in the first half, of course, because a lot of them had left.
Yeah, but I just want to make this point again. I made it before the news. I want to make it again, that Gareth Southgate should be our Prime Minister.
Well,
all right? He really should be. This guy's a sensation. He's dapper. Right? He's decent looking.
Yeah.
He's good on the world stage. Beat the living heck out of Colombia, for example.
Yeah.
Which is a prerequisite. You'll never catch him storing his offshore money in Panama because he smashed the Panamanians, didn't he?
Yeah.
He dealt with racism in a really kind of tactful, calm manner. He rallied the troops, organised them, and he has the respect of his subjects. Gareth Southgate should be our Prime Minister.
Such an eloquent speech. In fact, let's hear from Mr. Southgate himself
Prime Minister, Mr. Southgate.
On the plan England made and whether they would have walked off.
The referee came across on the 2 occasions that we felt necessary. You heard the stadium announcement after the first. With the second, we had a long discussion with the players because there were 4 minutes to half time, and they were keen to finish the half and then have the discussion and see where we stood after half time. We were very clear if there was anything at the beginning of the second half, we would have walked straight off, and frankly, I don't think we would have gone back.
There you go, Mr. Southgate, Prime Minister Gareth Southgate. Could you imagine him up against Boris Johnson?
I think he'd just make him look like an absolute Fruit Loop.
Do you think he would?
I think so, because he is very measured and he is very softly spoken. He's obviously a very intelligent bloke. I think Boris has stunned him like, well, you can keep your waistcoat. Oh, numpty. And he'd just go, actually, there are some quite deep-seated social issues in this country that I'd really like to sort out, and here's my plan of how to do them. Vote for me. It just make Boris Johnson look like a mug.
Get all flustered.
No, someone paint a lie on a bus. Come on, do it. There's a bus over there. It's not got a lie written on it.
Well, there you go. What do you guys think? Can he run for Prime Minister? Kind of feel like this is going to be a serious thing by the end of this show.
Definitely. Gareth Southgate for Prime Minister. He's covered himself in glory standing up to these Bulgarian racists.
Indeed. Well, look, talking a bit about on the field, we're going to be talking Ronaldo, of course, later as well. The fact that he got his 700th goal last couple of days.
Yeah.
So we're going to be going into a bit of detail on that. We've got a couple of interesting guests to discuss that as well. I want to talk a little bit more about on the field because, look, England in a good position now, of course. 3 points clear. Huge difference when it comes to goal difference. So it's looking very positive for next summer. Going into the next one, we've got another few games now. It's always a funny time of the season, this for me, where I remember as a player, you never really feel like you fully get going until late November, early December, because it always feels a bit stop-start. But again, it's a handful of games, maybe 4 or 5 more games, and then once again, we'll be into the next round of internationals. What needs to happen between now and then? We're in a good position. It is just a case of, for Gareth Southgate, I guess for his existence, it will be watch a few games, look at the likes of Hudson-Odoi, your Phil Fodens, the younger players that might be knocking on the door.
But it's nice, isn't it? Because for the first time in a long time, we've got an England manager who can look at these players and go, I've got a selection dilemma. I've got good young players knocking on the door, as opposed to a manager saying, has anyone got Emile Heskey's number? Which is a contrast, isn't it?
It is. Thank you for Neil. I see Neil from Down Under. Morning from South Australia at 4:38 p.m. on Wednesday evening.
Good day.
I totally agree with you regarding Gareth Southgate.
Yes!
It sounds like you're gathering a bit of momentum here, which is concerning. Maybe that'll be today's poll. In fact, I'm interested as to what yesterday's poll said because we had one on Cristiano Ronaldo, the number of goals he would score.
Of
course,
said, well done, Cristiano Ronaldo.
We had, for those that missed it, Laurie burst into the room when I claimed that he would score over 850 goals. He was not happy at all. So we put a poll out there. We'll let you know exactly what the poll said. We got a quote. We got a quote here from. We got a quote here from FIFA.com. So many times we say there is no place for racism in football, but nonetheless we still face challenges to tackle this problem in our sport, as we do in society. We will need the support of public authorities to help us identify and punish the culprits, but we will probably also need to think more broadly on what we can do to fix this. When we proposed a 3-step procedure in 2009, when I was at UEFA, and then made the regulations even tougher a few years later, we could not have imagined that so shortly thereafter we would again be having to think of how to combat this obnoxious disease that seems to be getting even worse in some parts of the world, said FIFA President Gianni Infantino. I call on football governing bodies to join us and think together of new, stronger and more effective ways to eradicate racism in football. As a starting point, I suggest that all competition organisers enact regulations which envisage life bans for stadiums for those who are found guilty of racist behaviour at a football match. FIFA can then enforce such bans at a worldwide level, he concluded. Thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, that's what that is, isn't it? I'm just almost sick of talking about it.
I know. It's something that, look, we are going to touch on so many other subjects today. But again, you pick up any paper today, the back couple of pages are that. Are you going to change the subject for us,
Yeah,
Patrick?
big time, straight away.
What you got?
Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, what's he saying?
So, Lewis Hamilton was labelled a green hypocrite by Flans last night. Flans everywhere was saying that Lewis Hamilton is a green... Don't get me started on what the creme caramels had to say about Lewis. So Lewis is 34. Now, he gave an Instagram post last night that was either concerning or hypocritical.
Okay, go on.
So it was basically saying that he doesn't feel like... he sometimes just feels like he wants to stop everything. He doesn't want to keep going with stuff. Like, he doesn't want to live in a world where people care so little about the world, so it makes him deeply upset. Now, if that is some kind of like, I'm feeling down, then hopefully wish him all the best. If it is, as it seems to have been taken this way, a hint that maybe people don't care enough about the environment, then people have pointed out that you race at 200 miles per hour in cars, and you use private jets to get everywhere.
Yeah. Which is yeah. I mean, look, I suppose it's the private jet one in particular is under his control. You kind of feel that, all right, when you're young, you choose a profession and you kind of become the best you can be. It might only be that in more recent times, maybe his mindset has changed slightly towards this.
Yeah, he's just written here, I'm sad right now with the thought of where this world is going. Extinction of our race is becoming more and more likely as we overuse our resources. The world's a messed up place. World leaders are uneducated or don't care about the environment at all. But, he does, like I've said, fly everywhere in private jets pretty much and race at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, I want to go into a bit more detail on this.
Literally tours the world racing cars.
He does, and the private jet one is the one where... I don't know, this is it though, right? This is it where
Because the thing is, though, he's made his money, hasn't he? So actually, if he really cared, then he could just stop.
He could? What, stop racing cars?
Yeah, or he could do an Extinction Rebellion. So he could get right out in front, really far in front, then stop the car across the track and lie down.
Do you know, with the Extinction Rebellion, you were there last night, as you said, and you went and joined the masses. Was there a lot of people there, I assume, by the way?
Yeah, loads.
Still, is it great? Is it gaining?
Still, I went to a few different ones. So I saw someone chain themselves to a van outside MI5.
Yeah.
And then there was someone trying to break into the Department of Transport with a hammer.
Right.
Which is a little bit much, really. But for the most part, they were all really quite peaceful and nice.
Do they have a clear message in terms of what they want?
Yeah, well, yes, they obviously want us to focus more on the environment. But they're not. I get what you mean. Like, they're not. From the ones I was speaking to, it wasn't a case of we need to reduce CO2 by this amount, and this is how we do it, and that's how we do it, and that's like no. But I'm sure that the people right at the top of Extinction Rebellion do have those facts figures. But the kind of
that was the kind of thing. It just feels very broad. There's so many ways in which it can. Well, what does that mean?
Well,
I guess
said to them as well. I was like, look, I'm not being funny, but why aren't you in China? And they were like, oh, that's a good question. I think we'd probably get shot. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and that equates for what? Well over from what I just, but anyway, whatever. It's like we are. I get that. I suppose then the argument would be a lot is then it starts here, and of course it'd be production over there, and what have you. I don't know. Look, it's kind of
There was a pervasive air, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, because some of them were lawyers and some of them were doctors and all this kind of stuff, but there was a general consensus that maybe if you had a job and had not felt like you'd been rejected by society at some point in your life, then maybe you wouldn't be digging a hole in a park in Vauxhall and squatting there.
Oh, this could link into Joker, what I saw last night.
Right. What was right at the end again?
So, this happens.
England is the wettest country around, but what do you expect if the Queen's going to reign for so long?
Love Sport. Follow @Love Sport Radio on Twitter for all the latest news, views, competitions, and the best bits from your favourite station. Love Sport, the station giving fans a voice.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Tenna men.
Cage.
Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're right.
Secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're in.
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
This is Lionel, another very happy person who saved themselves money at a spokesmansaid.com.
Hi, I'm Lionel from Peacehaven. I took note of what the spokesman said and I saved £484 per year on my energy, and I recommend everybody does the same.
A spokesmansaid.com. Getting real people, real savings. Compare, switch and save with a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
There are fewer than 20 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
This is Love Sport.
Lots for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Lots going on in the world of football and the world of sport today. We are going to touch on some of the front pages. One that kind of covers both is very much in regards to Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett. They were sentenced yesterday for the drink driving incident. For those that missed it, they were involved in a crash. 4 Derby County players involved in this crash. For Richard Keogh, that meant, well, a very serious injury. He's out for 18 months with a knee injury. For Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett, it's been a worrying couple of weeks since. However, they have continued to play for Derby County since. So it's been an interesting time, really. I suppose people wonder what would happen in the interim, whether they would then be frozen out. I think Derby punished them privately. I think it was a couple of weeks' wages. But look, let's 6 weeks' wages, sorry, my bad. We'll talk about what happened, though, at the hearing. So Derby County footballers Thomas Lawrence and Mason Bennett have avoided jail time after pleading guilty to drink driving. The pair were over the limit when the cars crashed on the A6 near Aylestree in Derby after a team building dinner. At the city's magistrates' court, they also admitted failing to stop at the scene of a crash on the 24th September. Lawrence and Bennett were ordered to carry out 180 hours of unpaid work, given a 12-month community order and banned for driving for 2 years. District Judge Jonathan Taft warned them the prison sentence was an option, as passengers were in the car and they had left the scene. When he sentenced, he said, "Intelligent and talented young men had brought shame upon yourselves, your family, your profession and your club." The prosecutor said the players were driving home at about 11:30 after a night out at the Joiners Arm pub, and Lawrence's car smashed into the back of Bennett's before continuing across a roundabout and hitting street furniture. So, look, the question is this the right decision?
Now, if this was anyone else really, almost, but especially, let's just say that this exact situation involved 2 people who the world had never heard of, who had grown up, let's say, around the Brixton area, who were maybe of colour and did this exact same thing, you're going to prison. You're getting sent to prison. If I did this, I'd expect to get sent to prison. I think most people would. And I can't understand why our legal system gives favours like this to people who are supposed to be role models.
So to give some more details, so Lawrence and Bennett left the scene. They returned about 45 minutes later and were arrested when they returned 45 minutes later. They gave a breath test reading there. They were 58 mcg per 100 mil, and you're allowed to be 35. So it was Bennett was 64, and Lawrence was 58. So almost double the limit.
Yeah, and that's 45 minutes after a crash. You know, and when your adrenaline's pumping, they're probably, these are like hyper fit individuals as well. So the booze will work its way out your system a little bit. They could have gone and made themselves sick or done whatever to try and mask it a little bit as well. So look, it's just ridiculous that the idea that these two people could do something like this and then walk away, because I wouldn't, you wouldn't. I don't know many people who would. But apart from footballers, really, and this is what's nuts. I've seen people get sent down. So I used to do quite a bit of court reporting, and I've seen people get sent down for when you sat there. I once saw a woman get sent down 3 days before Christmas, a mother of two young kids, for what was essentially a catalogue of unpaid parking fines, right? And the judge went, well, this is the way that you learn your lesson. You're going to be separated from your kids at Christmas now because this. Right, but if you are a top footballer, you can do something that is just objectively much worse and avoid jail. It's nuts.
Yeah, to give a few more details, the drink they were drinking was Jaeger bombs. He admitted he had drunk some alcohol, but he was driving perfectly normally when the crash occurred, apparently.
Well, apart from the fact that you end up crashing.
I mean, some of it just doesn't quite add up. It says Bennett panicked and then left the scene before returning after he received a call from Lawrence. Again, even that, I mean, I don't know. I suppose the fact they've returned, there's probably small details about this that might have meant that they haven't been put away. I mean, the fact they've returned, I guess. But the thing is, you can look at it so many different ways. The fact they left in the first place.
You've left. You've got a guy in the back of your car, is your club captain, Richard Keogh, who's got a terrible knee injury that might end his career. We know as well now, by the way, there was a young lad in one of the cars, one of the I think he's an 18-year-old dart player who's not been named, was in the car as well. And not only have they not had any punish from the courts, but the club has picked them and kept picking them ever since. What kind of message does this send out to people? And when we go about like footballers and top celebrities and musicians and all that, when we always talk about them like, oh gosh, they think they're above the law. Well, they are apparently.
Well, interestingly, so the lawyer defending Lawrence said references, including Wales manager Ryan Giggs, suggested he was a decent young man who behaved out of character.
Well, so what? I'm sorry, but so what? Anyone can say that, can't they?
The lawyer also said
I'd never give you a reference, though, mate, and I want you to know that. Or if I did give you a reference, it'd be shocking.
Yeah, I was going to say, probably a good job you don't give me
awful.
one. Appreciate that. The law also said that Lawrence had become quite dependent on alcohol since the death of his mother, to whom he was very close. Lawrence had made a gross error of judgment, which is a matter of extreme regret, he added. I mean, this then comes back to as well, though, you touched on, like, if it were someone who didn't necessarily have the support of the no doubt the lawyers they've got involved here are the very best of the best. So I guess there's part of that as well, right? Which is, and I guess it's so wrong, but it is what it is, that if you've got the very best defence team and they're going to find every possible way and they're going to train the people to say what they need to say.
It just seems to me that there's a really inherent bias in our court system, and that goes right down to the bottom of it. There was an article that was in the press a couple of weeks ago about a group of white lads who were, I believe, privately educated. They were essentially like kind of fake gangsters. Do you know what I mean? Like the kind of like, there's nothing sadder than someone who's kind of like upper middle class who is desperately trying to act like Tupac. And anyway, so they were spared jail for a lot of drug dealing, for threats, for physical threats and a physically violent attack. So they were spared jail because the judge was like, oh, they're good lads really, and it would really damage their reputation. Right, okay, well, if you just change their names and their mugshots to, 4 lads who, maybe black lads from the Brixton area or from the Camden area, something like that, they're going down. They're getting sent down. And this is the same with this now. If me and you, Rich, were on, or no, let's say, because you're probably part of the problem, Rich. If me and Kieran and I were on trial for this, Kieran and I would currently be bracing ourselves for a stint in prison, I imagine.
Another couple of interesting comments just want to read out. Another one from the judge saying, many of the supporters who pay their money to watch you will be incredulous that professional athletes and a so-called team building day during the season are drinking and then taking the decision to drive. I mean, is that normal that they reference what you do so often?
Yeah, so at the end of a trial, a judge will give quite a big summing up. Right. So they'll go into quite a lot of detail about it. But yeah, I thought you were going to go down the route of, the fans would be gutted if you weren't there. So here you go out and play.
Yeah. Well, by the way, another interesting point, and it's one that I touched on at the time. Obviously, Lawrence signed for Derby from Leicester for £5 million a couple of years ago. I mean, this is, and I guess it made me realise even more so with the whole Emiliano Salah case with, look, it's a human being, but there is then the business perspective. The clubs naturally are looking at figures. You've got someone like Tom Lawrence has got a huge amount of value to the football club. Now, of course, that shouldn't have any, and I'm sure it doesn't have any bearing on this case, but I'm sure that Derby County, whether they agree with it or not or what have you, this for them is huge news because essentially a big asset of theirs, had he gone to prison for a period of time, look, I'm sure it'd have come out and he'd have gone straight back in the team because we know what football can be like. If a player's good enough, they always seem to find a way to forgive. But I think the fact that the ruling is what it is, and also the fact that they have been playing throughout this.
Yeah, it just seems bonkers to me, and this just seems like a problem that is like a rot right at the heart of football, that you can pay these players this amount of money and essentially go, actually, you know what, mate, because of that, you're immune to all sorts of stuff that most other people aren't immune to.
It does sound like Richard Keogh could have come off worse. The prosecuting lawyer mentioned that it was entirely by chance there were paramedics in the area at that time. The fact, and those, pictures were released of his knee and it looked pretty horrendous, to be honest. You do wonder, had he, and by the way, it's unconfirmed that's his knee, what have you. But like with those pictures coming out, look, if that was his knee, then you do think, had it been a little while longer without paramedics, he could have been in serious trouble.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the issue, isn't it? Which is that if you're driving down the motorway now, and someone whizzes past you at X miles an hour, 95 miles an hour, and then some point later, they swerve and they end up hitting you, and you shatter your knee to a point when, actually, unless there are urgent paramedics on hand, you could be in massive trouble. If that door of that car opens and somebody legs it away, and then they come back 45 minutes later, if that person who comes back turns out to be a footballer, you might as well just not bother with the whole court thing. Because what's the point? But if it turns out to be someone called Gary from Milton Keynes, then that's all right. Gary's going to prison.
What do you guys think? 0208 70 20 558 on WhatsApp. 29 minutes past 7.
Love sport.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it. Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
AsSpokesmanSaid.com is a leading price comparison website that allows you to compare every energy tariff on the market in seconds. We have more deals than any other comparison website offering energy prices, and our impartial independent switching service is free of charge. Nearly 50% of UK households have switched bills, and there are hundreds to be saved. Visit AsSpokesmanSaid.com, as recommended in The Guardian, The Times and The Sun. AsSpokesmanSaid.com.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app. Because there's only one you.
This is Love Sport.
That's for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. We're going to be speaking to Kieran Maguire shortly, football finance lecturer at the University of Liverpool. Ed Woodward claims that on-field success is irrelevant to United making money. The market disagrees. We're going to be talking to Kieran in about 5-10 minutes' time. He has claimed, and for those that don't follow Kieran, certainly worthwhile, at Kieran Maguire on Twitter, he has claimed that United are now worth $1.7 billion less on the stock exchange than they were in August 2018, so just over a year ago. So the market does disagree with Ed Woodward there, which made me think, 1.7 billion, Patrick.
1.7 billion pounds.
What would you spend it on?
Oh, gosh. What can I say at this time in the morning? What are we on? 7:30?
Yeah, I'd pretty much say anything now. I mean, we've said a lot worse earlier than this.
Yeah,
So
we have actually, to be fair.
Yeah.
I don't remember that time we said.
We said that. Oh, we just got dumped again.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Anyway, so what would I do with 1.7 billion pounds? The thing is, I'm so poor. My frame of reference is so off. I actually don't know. Could I buy, like, Mexico?
I mean, that might be a push. I
Is
don't
it?
know.
I don't know.
Venezuela, maybe. I don't know.
Venezuela. I'll have a go on Venezuela.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in like, buying a football club?
No, seems like an absolutely terrible idea because I'd have to deal with muppets like Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett, who, I mean, to be honest with you, there would be, for me, there wouldn't be a court case because what we do is, all right, just come in, sit down, tell me what you've done, lads. Shut the door. And everyone outside would just hear two. And then they'd never be seen again.
Just a trap
so
door
I'm not
open.
really, yeah, I'm not
The
really.
crocodiles beneath.
Yeah.
Where are they? Where are they, Patrick? I don't know.
Well, you tell me.
Yeah.
The law. So note that. I think just like a fleet of supercars, a massive yacht, and making my girlfriend very happy.
Yeah, would that do that?
I'm not sure if anything could.
No, you're at that point now.
Yeah.
What other things could... I mean, I've always loved the idea of like a helicopter. So I've had a few lessons, and it's something that I'm intending to do at some point. I think I could imagine... I say I could imagine you with a helicopter. I guess we've got the whole coordination issue that you've got.
What coordination
No,
issue?
you know what I mean. Sorry, I don't mean to... You know what I mean, though. So, like...
What,
it's actually,
dyspraxic or something?
no, they're quite hard to fly. So, like, most
can
people...
handle a chopper.
So we're talking. So no football club. You're just basic. You're just the nice cars and the.
Oh yeah, I think so. Massive houses.
I've realised you've said nothing about giving back at all.
What?
What?
No. Give back. Give back to who?
I don't know. There must be something.
Giving back. What have I taken? What have I
You've got
extracted?
1.7 billion. Do you know how many zeros that is?
Yeah, not as many as Bill Gates. And what's he up to? Do you know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure he gives back quite a lot.
Yeah, he could do, but but the super rich, like your Jeff Bezos, doesn't pay any tax, does he? Doesn't pay any tax, pretty much. He could basically wipe out malaria if he wanted to. I'm pretty sure that Jeff Bezos single-handedly could cure at least 4 different types of cancer. Doesn't give a toss. Sorry, mate, you're not getting a single penny of my money.
So you're going to wipe out malaria?
No, because
Right.
Jeff Bezos isn't doing it. The day Jeff Bezos starts dishing out malaria nets like confetti will be the day that I start giving back, mate.
You obviously turned up and supported the guys with the Extinction Rebellion. Would you back their case?
Well, right, okay, so what is it? 1.7 bill, yeah?
Yeah. So you got a lot there, mate, by the way. You get your nice houses. You get your nice house, you get your nice cars. You've got about 1.6795 billion left. You still got most of it left, okay?
I'll tell you what I'd do, actually. I'd buy quite a large island.
Okay.
And I'd just put all the Extinction Rebellion lot there, and I'd just watch them tear each other apart. So actually, what I would do, I think, is actually something similar to what this guy would do. Actually, let's hear it.
Can I ask you, if you won all the money, what would you do with it?
Bunch of hookers and cocaine.
Oh, okay, that's not good.
Oh my God. Right, I think the truth has just it's just come out. You're right. It's 7:34 in the morning here on Love Sport Radio. We do appreciate you joining us, and we've just delved deep into the mind of Patrick Christys. We're going to be back in 30 seconds. I always worry about this because I don't know what comes up in this 30 seconds, and I'm hoping it's nothing too serious, but we're going to be back in 30 seconds.
This is Love Sport.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support. right there with you.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you all the way until 10 a.m. We're going to be talking to Kieran Maguire very shortly. Just want to say thanks again for all the messages that are coming in. We've been flooded with them this morning. I will read out some very, very shortly.
Hang on a second. Are they deeply offensive towards me in a personal way?
Let me have a look. Only two.
Oh,
only
hey,
two this morning, so there's an improvement.
But it's Clive.
Clive's been kind to you recently. You've won Clive over.
Okay.
I don't know what's
Go
happened
on,
there.
Richard.
Right, we're going to be speaking to Kieran Maguire, football finance lecturer at the University of Liverpool. Morning, Kieran.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. So, Ed Woodward claims that on-field success is irrelevant to United making money. The market disagrees. We've seen the tweet that you've put out. So, United losing 1.7 billion over the last 14 months on the stock exchange.
That's right. I think if you take a look at the start point, which was August 2018, United had qualified for the Champions League effectively through the back door. They'd made some signings. Mourinho was in his second season. I think the markets were feeling very positive that United would be able to make a lot of money on the back of that. And then things started to slide. They had a poor start to the season. And the reason why the value has gone down so much is that the stock market is looking at Manchester United and saying, well, they're not in the Champions League this year. There's a potential danger that they might not even make the Europa League next year. And that has a huge impact upon the club's finances.
Yeah, okay. Just reading as well that Kevin Glazer is set to cash out of United. He's the first of the 6 Glazer siblings to break rank since their late father Malcolm took control of the club 14 years ago. And when you tie this in with what's going on in the stock exchange, stock market, he owns, I believe, 13% of Manchester United. Are we actually seeing a bit of a financial exodus here, Old Trafford?
Yes, I think that there are issues. I mean, the Kevin Glazer story, it's very confusing because if you read the hundreds and hundreds of pages of small print of the United accounts, it could be that his shares, if he does pass them over to somebody else, would have to go to another member of the family first. So therefore, they could still keep the iron grip. But it looks as if certainly some of the Glazer children are not enamoured with football or soccer, as they would call it, whereas I think a couple of them are very keen and they believe that United can still grow. So in terms of the potential for a takeover, United are comparatively a bargain to where they were 14 months ago.
Is that what you think United need now? Something just to shake things up a bit? I guess we look at some of the other clubs and the way in which they're being built, they're structured, the people that are investing into them. Is it time now, do you think? Do you think the Glazers' reign is coming to an end and actually we're coming to a sort of natural conclusion that someone will come in and try and reinvigorate things?
Well, I mean, the Glazers are an easy target at United. To give them some credit, since Sir Alex retired, Manchester United have spent over £1 billion on signing players, and they also have the biggest wage bill in English football by some margin. So the money is being spent. I think you've got to argue about the quality of the decision making. The club still doesn't have a director of football. It seems to recruit players on a fairly random basis rather than having a structure, and all of that I think has contributed more to the demise of United than the owners themselves.
Do you reckon Ed Woodward's a little bit at the minute thinking, hang on a minute, if the Glazers start either jumping ship or being very concerned about the financials of it, then actually he could be the one out the door?
The Glazers seem to have a lot of faith in Ed Woodward. He is their ear to what's happening on the terraces.
But surely it's money-based, though, isn't it? Because that's the thing. For years now, I've been looking at performances on the pitch and being like, how on earth has this guy still got a job? And you think, oh, okay, well, the spreadsheets look good. But if they stop looking good, could he not be out?
Well, yes. Ultimately, if the Glazers do lose faith in him, he's very well paid. In a good year, he'll earn £4 million a year. And Manchester United have got to make money for the Glazers because every year, because the company is traded on the stock exchange, it has to pay dividends. And those dividends have been, in each of the last 4 or 5 years, they've been about £22 to £23 million. So there's a lot of money going out of the club. And I think the danger is that if United cease to be associated with trophies and success. The sponsors will start to walk away. So the Chevrolet deal is up for renewal relatively soon. Is somebody willing to pay 50 to 60 million pounds to have their name on a Manchester United shirt when the club is finishing sixth in the Premier League? So Ed Woodward's job has got to be called into question if he ceases to deliver as far as the profit and loss account is concerned.
And obviously the loss that we're talking about and the reduction has been over the last 14 months. I suppose a double-part question. One, how easy is it to regain that? And from what you can see, could it continue to sink further over the next 14 months?
I don't think so. I think United probably have a natural floor in terms of their value. So I can't see that going much below £2 billion, and it's $2 billion. It's presently around about 2.6. So it could go down a wee bit more. I think if the markets say, realistically, if you take a look at that Manchester United first team, how many of those players would get into the Liverpool, the Manchester City starting 11? And I think not many would be the answer. Then they would say, well, how much is it going to cost to replace the squad? And when we are talking hundreds of millions of pounds here, so that will have an impact upon what people will be prepared to pay for the shares.
Great stuff. Kieran, really appreciate the input.
Thank you very much.
That's Kieran Maguire, their football finance lecturer at the University of Liverpool, giving his thoughts on United. 1.7 billion less on the stock market than they were 14 months ago. I want to talk to you a little bit about this, Patrick. Just quickly, again, thanks for all the messages coming in. Got a few more on the racism debate, so we're going to be talking about that shortly. So, how low can they go, United?
Right.
The fact that this interests me because the figures come out and this is where it can be so misleading. And I kind of give the example of
my own personal wealth.
No, I give the example of
my own vast personal wealth.
Right, I give the example of if you do a workout. I like this one because you do a workout, you don't see the results instantly. It might be a couple of days later because you do your workout and the muscles then do whatever they do, and then you actually see the results a little while later. So it can take a period of time. Then suddenly you get it. With this, I feel like the results they're showing, of course, are from years ago. Effectively, it was all the good work, the fact they were Champions League and all the building, blah blah blah. Then all of a sudden, you wait till next year or the year after or the year after. I think even if they do brilliantly this season, of course, the results over the next few years will reflect what's happened this season and last season. So all of a sudden, we're going to see a dip, an even bigger dip, I think, over the next couple of years. Yeah. I just wonder then, like you touched on there, Kieran, that United have a natural floor. They're not going to go too low because they're Manchester United. In the same way that the New York Yankees are the New York Yankees, they're not going to go too low. But at the same time, something needs to change pretty quickly if they're going to get back to their height.
Yeah, look, I think so. And I think that we've been papering over the cracks for quite a while now. And you could argue as well that actually Sir Alex Ferguson papered over the cracks. If you look at that last squad that won the league there, it probably didn't have that much of a right to win that league, I thought. So I think that unless we get in some kind of head of recruitment and Ed Woodward goes out the door, then it is going to be tricky for them because, to be honest with you though, it has looked to me anyway like the Glazers and whoever else is there has seemed content for the club to basically be in slow decline now for a very long time, and I can't help but wonder if there's some bigger plan here where they basically just think, right, okay, for whatever new business model it is, I'm happy for us to finish 12th every year. I don't know.
Well, again, I guess that's it, where you feel like you're getting success without necessarily getting success. You know, you're getting success off the field without getting success on the field. Then if that's your goal, then why do you need to change? I suppose the question is, will Woodward lose his job before Solskjaer loses his?
Probably not. But I think he probably should, is the thing. I think so, because I think Solskjaer could be gone, frankly, if a heavy defeat to Liverpool, then I think Solskjaer's probably out the door. But no, Woodward will be there for a while. The thing is, he just does, easy for me to say, seem so pally with the Glazers, and I can't quite understand why. Because like we said, the spreadsheets have always been fine for quite a while, but they're not really anymore. They've given him £1 billion to spend, right, and he's wasted it. This is, in fact, it's gone even worse than if he hadn't spent anything. I don't understand how long their patience is with this guy. He's on about £4 million a year. He's had £1 billion to spray up the wall. Nothing's happened. He's presiding over a club that, frankly, is more looking like they're in a relegation scrap than a scrap for Champions League places. They may well be about to get battered by their old rivals, Liverpool. Their local neighbours are top of the league. Get him out.
Yeah. What do you guys think? 0208 70 20 558. Let us know on the socials at Love Sport Radio. I see several of you getting in touch on YouTube these days because we are on YouTube. We've got lots of viewers at the moment from what I can see. So do check us out on YouTube too. I mentioned I went and watched Joker last night. I've got a feeling we might touch on this after this.
I'm not a snob. I just don't want to be in the same car as my chauffeur.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Think the energy price cap will save you money? Think again. You could be saving a lot more on cheaper energy tariffs. Price comparison site A Spokesman Said will show you just how much money you could be saving against your current tariff. Don't throw away your hard-earned money to the energy companies. Check out aspokesmansaid.com and you could switch to cheaper bills in minutes.
thespokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Lots to come in the next couple of hours, but for now, we do have Mr. Kieran Wellington, who has entered the room for the first time this morning. Morning, Kieran.
Good morning. How are we?
Embarrassingly well, and I believe you bring interesting information this morning.
Yeah, very interesting. And with the rise of social media, it's almost as if you can get a story at any hour of the day now. With athletes' social media, they can post stuff at any time, and you do feel if they don't get the right advice, then it can turn into a massive story. And this is what potentially will happen with Lewis Hamilton, because on his Instagram story, obviously that's only a 24-hour medium, so it will disappear very soon. I've not actually checked whether it has disappeared yet, but on his Instagram story, he put a message. Honestly, I feel like giving up on everything. Shut down completely. Why bother when the world is such a mess and people don't seem to care? I'm going to take a moment away to gather my thoughts. Thank you to those of you who do give a damn about the world. And this is obviously in response to the climate change protest that's going on with Extinction Rebellion. He's a massive advocate of eating vegan, but also travels in private jets and races Formula 1 cars around the track.
Is it easier to have very worthy views about stuff when you're fabulously wealthy?
And with a massive social presence, because he knows he'll get so much support.
Yeah.
And just as a nice ego boost.
Because
if you feel a bit down, go and post something about Extinction Rebellion and you'll get loads of nice comments, right?
Yeah,
and then he'll feel a bit better about
Because
it.
this is the thing, if I was worth about 50 million quid, when he's worth much more than that, I would probably start voting Lib Dem. Because, I think I'd be sat there, in my house in Hampstead, a little bit of kind of vegan bubbly on the go, a nice, a nice supermodel girlfriend there, lovely car in the driveway, everything's gone rather well, and other than I can have very worthy views. Well, why can't everyone just love each other a bit more? Well, yeah, but that's because actually so many people wake up in a squalid council flat every morning and have to fight for everything that they're given. So, you excuse me for not thinking that is the case. So, I do wonder with this lot whether it's easy for him to go, I can't believe that so many people don't care about the world. Well, yeah, because they're busy working 3 jobs, Lewis, mate.
But is this a worrying post? I feel like giving up on everything, shut down completely. This is a guy who's an elite level athlete.
Yeah.
And he's obviously not got that support there because he's feeling like he has to go on Instagram and post to his millions of followers.
I guess what I'd find interesting is, has his viewpoint changed over the last few? And like, I think we're going to touch on, I mentioned it, I went to watch Joker last night, which was, and I'm still thinking, it's one of those films I've left the cinema and I'm not sure what to think. Like, for all the rave reviews it's getting, I'm leaving the cinema thinking, I don't know, not I don't get it, I get it, but then it's more so afterwards that I think, and it's stuff like this that actually makes me think about it, because like, of course, your viewpoint changes, then everything changes. So initially, where you're trying to strive to get somewhere and you want to make something yourself, if things start to go your way, then of course you can have a really positive outlook on everything and feel great about what's going on. Similarly, if things start going against you, I guess that then shows, right, what are you made of? Is it one where you're able then to still keep going, still believing that you're going to make it, or do you then give in to what's happening to you and effectively go down a different path?
I wonder whether it's a little bit of a deflection thing for Lewis Hamilton. First of all, I just want to make it very clear, if he is struggling at the minute and that is actually some kind of cry for help, obviously, like 100% fair, really, really wish him all the best. I don't know. I'm not sure that it is. I wonder whether it is a case of him just trying to distance himself from his own kind of luxurious life and his own thing. I mean, this is a guy that like drives supercars around Monaco with, models in the back of them and, could do whatever he likes, can't he? And you think, well, he parks his private jet somewhere. His bulldog has got an Instagram account with more followers than most of the Kardashians put together.
You never know, though. There could be guilt associated with that. That's another part of this, and people suffer from that. But this is it. This is what I mean. I go back to it. And it might just be that he's having a bad day. And it might be as simple as that. He's having a bit of a rough day. And he's, like you say, social media now. You can put something out and maybe he just needs to have a few people showing him a bit of love, which may well have happened. I'm sure it has happened. Yeah. If it is deeper than that, then of course, I guess it's, as you say, it's then you just got to be careful if you're putting something like that out, because naturally people are going to jump on it. And the fact that it's like if with anyone that has these kind of views, I guess it's so hard to be whiter than white.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just don't believe that someone can put this on Instagram and feel like they're not going to get any reaction. Like, it's a really dangerous thing for him with such... Well, he's one of the biggest British sportsmen ever, in terms of his presence around the world. It's a really weird thing, I think, to put out on your social media without any sort of explanation other than, a bit of climate change, I just feel like this is really troubling. I think mentally he's obviously not in a great place at the moment.
Yeah, I get it. But is there some link, right? I would love to see scientists, dissect brains of people and try and find this out for me. Is there a link between being an eco-warrior and being a frothing hypocrite? Because how many times do you see these really wealthy celebs rock up to environmental things? They've flown in first class from somewhere on the other side of the world and they give us a lecture about it and they fly back again.
Yeah. Is it okay to... Not in Lewis Hamilton's situation, I appreciate. But is it all right to hold the principle... But it's one of the hardest things to uphold, isn't it? That sort of climate change principle, all that goes into it. The life they would have to lead in 2019 would almost be impossible.
But the thing is, for me, it's a bit... I get what you're saying, man. Definitely. But for me, it's a bit well, it probably is easy to have a carbon neutral household when you can tell your 15 members of staff how to run it. That's the way I look at it, to be honest with you. I get all right. I could recycle a bit more, don't get me wrong. But it is easy. If you have got the money to turn your house into an eco-paradise and make sure that you can refit solar panels all on the roof and revolutionise the way that you go for it, and you can afford that electric car, you're not driving a Prius, are you? You're driving that, one like yours, to be fair, which is electric, and it's a lovely car, Reg. Don't get me wrong, you're not the problem. But, this is the thing. It's all very well and good if you can afford all that kind of jazz, but I can't.
Yeah, I go back to the point. I just think that, again, we don't know exactly what he's referring to. That's part of it as well. I wonder what his PR team made of this, by the way. The moment it came out, you can imagine they'll be making phone calls, and because I'm sure the majority of what he puts out will be filtered through somebody, and because we don't know exactly what
Rebecca Vardy's account.
Da, da, da.
I don't know. I go back to my point. I just think that his mindset, it's interesting now, and as you say, he's at the position he is. And I wonder as well, people strive towards something. You've always got these ideas of goals. Now, we're looking at a guy who's about to win another championship. He's won everything you possibly win, got all the money you could possibly have. He's got everything, everything. And I wonder, and there's so many people do this, the very, very successful people, that get to a point when it's almost a feeling of, is that it? You know, like you've been striving so long for something. When you actually get there, the realization that it's not quite what you thought it would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense. I actually don't think he likes racing that much anymore.
Maybe not. Like, I know most footballers don't like football.
So, yeah, exactly. You look at his Instagram. By the way, the story's been deleted. But his bio doesn't mention anything about being the best racing driver Britain's ever seen.
No.
Plant-based diet, love animals, constantly searching for my purpose, for adventure, open-mindedness and positivity, spread love and God above all. This is, like, mentally, I'm not comfortable with this.
I think that's a point, that from, you know, almost his first season pretty much in Formula One, he's been arguably the best driver that this country's ever produced. And so I think there must be that, mustn't there, where he probably feels like he's just completed it. And that's that phrase there, isn't it? Constantly searching for my purpose. Which I think if you are...
That's what happens, though. Like, no, he's not alone in this. And I know a lot of people like this, that when you get to that level, it is a feeling of, well, what's next? Because there's nothing more you can have. There's no more material possessions that you can possibly have. There's nothing more. There isn't another level in terms of this reality that we live in. So then so many then look for different dimensions, a different world, a different light. You get the feeling he's there. It wouldn't surprise me, I'll throw this one out there, if he doesn't last that much longer in F1. It wouldn't surprise me if he quit at the end of the season, if I'm reading stuff like this.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely fair enough, mate. And it is maybe it's too easy for me to look at it from an outsider's perspective and say, well, look, you've got it all, Lewis. You know, I don't understand why on earth you would feel like this, but perhaps there is more to it.
3 minutes to 8.
Love sport.
There are fewer than 20 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
That's what breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you all the way until 10 a.m. We've got a big hour coming up. We're going to be talking about Cristiano Ronaldo because, of course, he has now scored 700 goals. We've got the writer of Ronaldo, The Obsession for Perfection, Luca Caioli. He'll be coming on at 8:15. We're also going to be speaking to Anson Wainwright, boxing writer for The Ring, discussing Tyson Fury, Andy Ruiz. Transformation, for those that haven't seen Andy Ruiz Jr., do check him out now. He does not look like the same fighter that fought AJ not so long ago. And of course, there'll be plenty of football, plenty of sport as per usual. As always, you can get in touch 0208 70 20 558 on WhatsApp. You can get in touch on the socials at Love Sport Radio, or like many of you have done this morning, we do appreciate it on YouTube. I'll be reading out some of these shortly. Just look us up, Love Sport Breakfast on YouTube. The time is 8 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 8. Donald Trump has told the parents of Harry Dunn that the US woman involved in the crash in which their son died won't be returning to the UK. They met the president at the White House last night and were told Anne Sakoulis was in the room next door. They turned down the chance to meet her, though, as they want any talks to be in the UK. The teenager's dad, Tim, says they're not sure how much progress they've made.
It was a strange thing, because obviously we've just met the president and we never thought we'd get this far. He seems sincere to me, but I don't know if we've got any further forward.
Brexit talks have continued into the early hours ahead of a crucial EU summit starting tomorrow. A spokesman for the British side says the discussions have been constructive. Our political correspondent Tamara Cohen says the Prime Minister wants to put a deal to MPs at the weekend, but it's looking touch and go.
Boris Johnson is trying to build support for a vote as early as Saturday. Meanwhile, he's going to have to go to the EU prepared to talk about the possibility of an extension. Certainly the feeling among many in Europe is that the timescale is too short to get it all done this week.
New data shows children as young as 4 are being caught taking weapons, including hammers and knuckle dusters, to school. In one case, a 7-year-old was found with a 6-inch knife in Hertfordshire. People in England could be offered cancer screening in their lunch break. A government-ordered review is recommending patients are given more choice over where they go for tests. Prince Harry has broken down on stage at an awards ceremony for inspirational children as he spoke about his journey to fatherhood. He told the event in London last night that learning about youngsters with serious illnesses pulls at his heartstrings. The Well Child Awards recognises young people who are seriously ill and those making a positive difference. And John Lewis has stopped selling drones because of the chaos they've been causing at airports in the last year or so. The department store's also revealed it's taken fish poachers off its shelves because people aren't buying them very often anymore. That's the latest. I'm Andy Hayes.
This is Love Sport.
Get the brands they love at littlewoods.com. Play FIFA 20 with friends. Get the Xbox One S dual controller bundle with FIFA 20 for an unmissable $199.99. All with inclusive delivery and free returns at littlewoods.com. Hurry, offer ends Thursday the 10th of October. Own it. Shop now at littlewoods.com.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning, Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10. Let's touch on the headlines. There's a lot in the papers today in regards to the racism on Monday night. We're going to touch on that briefly, but we want to move past that because there's so much positivity in the world of sport this morning. We're going to be talking under 21s shortly because Hudson-Odoi and Nketiah share 5 goals for the 21s in their game against Switzerland last night. We'll be talking Tom Lawrence, Mason Bennett. They've avoided jail time after pleading guilty to drink driving. Other stories involved. David De Gea suffered an injury, may well miss the game against Liverpool. David Cottrell yet to apply for a charitable status for the foundation that carries his name. He owes £400,000 to former players. Also, Billy Vinapola is back in training as he faces a fight to be fit for the Aussies. Lots more to discuss this hour, and I do want to start with the 21s, Patrick, if that's okay for you. Of course, they had a very good win yesterday, and we spoke a lot yesterday and a lot today in regards to the racism in Bulgaria. Again, don't want to touch on it too much. Want to try and take the positives or whatever positives there are. And actually, the fact that yesterday, great example, 2 young black footballers who are doing fantastically well. And Nketiah is one I want to talk about because he's one that I've learned a lot about. Not necessarily getting the chances at Leeds at the moment that perhaps he thought he was going to get at the start of the season, of course, on loan from Arsenal. But he's another one of these top young players that you just feel he's probably one good season away in the Championship for being the type of player that could star for Arsenal. In fact, let's hear from Nketiah on his frustrations at not starting for Leeds.
Obviously I'll never be happy with being on the bench. I want to play. I pride myself on being on the team. I think I'm good enough to be in the team, so all I can do really is put in the performances I do, when I come on, try and contribute. And I think with the chances I've had there, I've done really well. 2 games I've played, I've scored, and I've always tried to help the team when I come on. So I feel like going away with England is always a great opportunity for me to continue to put a case forward and show myself, and it's a great platform, and I'm grateful to be here, and I just want to continue doing well at this level and for Leeds.
Nketiah, of course, on the score sheet yesterday. Hudson-Odoi was as well. For me, and we look at the 21s, you look at the kind of players that have the chance of potentially making the full squad. These two in particular do. I think Nketiah, we're not going to be looking at next summer. I think it's going to be too soon for him. Of course, being on loan at Leeds isn't going to be a big enough platform for him to be able to get there. But he's certainly one for 3 years' time, you'd feel. Hudson-Odoi, on the other hand, you just feel that if he can get himself playing regularly, fully fit, and doing well, that he will be in that full England squad. Yeah,
look, 100%. And actually, he really impressed me in some recent performances with his strength. And I think it's a characteristic of him that goes potentially a little bit under the radar because he is just so good with the ball at his feet. And obviously, he's a good finisher. His delivery is good as well. And he's got good pace. But he is now palming off men like they're not there, like in a way that you expect to see from England's rugby winger, and that is an incredible characteristic because he looks quite slight, doesn't he? I'm sure he wouldn't necessarily in person. He's obviously a very fit individual, but he doesn't. You don't look at him and think, oh, you're some kind of man mountain. He looks quite rangy, doesn't he? And he's got quite a large stride and a little bit gangly, but he's obviously absolutely hench.
Palming off men like a rugby winger. I'm so glad you said rugby winger.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many other things you could have said. Nketiah did get a hat-trick yesterday. Eddie Boothroyd was also asked about hat-trick hero Nketiah.
He gets his minutes with us, and I'm sure over time he'll do really well at his club team as well. He's in a brilliant place, I think, learning off a great coach, and I'm sure that, well, I know because he talks to me that he's enjoying being there at such a big club. And when he comes to us, he's ready, he's fresh, and hopefully we can send him back, a better player than when he was here initially.
Hudson-Odoi, obviously on the verge of the England senior squad, and that dominated yesterday's post-match discussion.
Yeah, I always look to the seniors no matter what. Whenever I get the opportunity to go over there, I always want to try and impress and do my best that I can whenever opportunity comes. And I'm just trying to go back to club football now, try and work my hardest there, and hopefully the opportunity will come whenever it is. And I try to keep working hard, keep improving, and hopefully the opportunity will come.
I hope not, because he's been brilliant for us. I think sometimes, perhaps if a player was in the senior team and came back down, there would be the opportunity for them to be moody. But he has been first class throughout, on the pitch, off the pitch. I think, if anything, in both the games he's played, he was trying too hard, really. Sometimes you try so hard that things don't come off. But I mean, what he did tonight for us was exceptional. A fantastic first goal.
Boothroyd was also asked, "Is this the last you've seen of Hudson-Odoi?" That's done that. So Hudson-Odoi, you would feel that he is on the verge of the first team squad, and I don't know. I look at it and I just feel that actually it is just a matter of him getting back in the team, playing regularly at Chelsea, and if he does that, then certainly from what we saw last season, and he got the injury at really bad timing. I mean, there's never a good time to get an injury, of course, but he got it at such bad timing, and you just feel that if he can get himself playing regularly, get himself fully fit, that he is going to be there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
It's pleasing to see that he's come back as strong as he has so far.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think that's where his age will really do him a lot of favours in that respect, actually. But yeah, look, I mean, I think the future certainly is bright for Callum Hudson-Odoi. Chelsea fan should be over the moon, and actually as an England fan, I am as well, because again, it's this. Do you remember as well that kind of thing of, when you were watching England play, and it might get to, we'd be 1-0 down against someone like Iceland, and we'd turn to somebody like, and no disrespect to the guy, but we'd turn to somebody like a Peter Crouch, or we'd turn to somebody like that. Whereas now, you could bring Jadon Sancho off the bench. You could bring Callum Hudson-Odoi off the bench. Depending on who you pick, you could even bring Marcus Rashford off the bench. And I know that he's not a world beater, but I'd rather have him coming off the bench.
Well, this is it. We talk about, I suppose, how proud we are of the team at the moment.
So proud.
Certainly the young players as well, the 21s, the first team.
This is another call, right, for Gareth Southgate to be Prime Minister, Rich, right? Because at a time of national crisis and a lot of national hatred and self-loathing that we're going through, there is one man that has stuck his head above the parapet and tried to restore faith in this nation and a little bit of national pride. Right, for so long in this country, because of Brexit, people are afraid to actually wave the St George's Cross or the Union Jack or whatever, because they think, that makes me a racist. Whereas Gareth Southgate's team are out on the pitch doing the business for us against the best teams in the world on a regular basis. And it's, you're proud to wear the England badge on your shirt now. You're proud with the style of football that we're playing. And when you look at the way that we've handled things like we did in Bulgaria, not to dwell on it for too long, but that is class, actually. Yeah. It was pure class on and off the pitch, and it has been now for a while. And Gareth Southgate's done that.
I think going back to your point as well, and that's, I suppose, one of the biggest things, is it used to be a bit archaic, really, because it would be bring the big man on, and it was just a case of then we would go that little bit more direct, and you're effectively hoping for luck. Whereas, I suppose Bulgaria were poor the other night, but of course we now have so many ways in which we can break teams down, and several of those goals, I don't care whether it's against Bulgaria or a much better nation, we're still scoring those goals with the types of moves that we're producing and the talent that the players have. And I think that's it, is that we've got so many young players that have immense talent. And I think this goes back to the work that's been done over the last 10 years or so with the academies, the fact there's so many fantastic academies out there, Chelsea, Man City being a couple of great examples, where these young players that have the right attitude, that have the raw ingredients to make it, are then being entered into these academies. I think we're starting to see that now, and hopefully over the next few years that will continue.
Exactly. I just want to have a quick chat about Ronnie O'Sullivan, Rich.
Well, please do. What's the latest with our friend Ronnie?
So yesterday, Ronnie O'Sullivan, you know him, off of snooker.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So he was digging out the K2 Leisure Centre in Crawley. Now, fair play, he's not the only one. I think an annual membership actually costs you about 23p. So he said, the smell's got a bit better, because he accused it of smelling like urine. The smell's got a bit better, but he went, every day I spend in Crawley is a day lost. The best thing about it is the M23 out of it. He's had another pop. And it's actually this. I think he's gone too far here, right? I get that Ronnie O'Sullivan's very up and down, and I love the guy. Like his box office, but this is too much. So Ronnie O'Sullivan has actually criticised his opponents, and in a really big way here. He's gone, half of these players, I don't know who they are, and to play them first time, it's really hard. I don't enjoy playing someone who is happy to be here, or they don't expect to be here. I want to play someone who has earned his right to be here. It's like if you get a phone call asking if you want to play Roger Federer at Wimbledon and you think, sweet. But if you are playing them all season and you've earned your right to play them, then it's a different mindset. I'll always struggle against these types of players. There's no point playing the right shot if they then play the wrong shot. It's like following a driver who doesn't know what they are doing and you crash yourself. Those are harder than playing top matches.
Well, Ronnie O'Sullivan showed what a poor advocate he is for the sport in this interview.
It's more difficult than ever before for new players to make a name for themselves in the game?
No, I just don't think they're good enough, and you'll just keep seeing the same faces, get to the same rounds year after year after year, and then again you'll get one or two that come through that are good enough. So, yeah, they're just going to keep donating, basically.
Why aren't they good enough then? Because
that's all been the case since I turned professional. I've seen them all the time. I could have told them they're not good enough, but they keep pitching up and they keep playing and they keep thinking, if I get a little result and I do this, it just ain't happening. There's just very few people.
Well, yeah, but if it's a choice for someone between that and, no offence or whatever, but, I don't know, being a brekkie or being a scaffolder or something like that, of course you want to go and play Ronnie O'Sullivan at the Crucible. Yeah. It's just because everyone can't be as good as him, it doesn't make a difference, does it?
You feel bad for snooker in a way, in that actually... Look, Ronnie O'Sullivan, he will go down as the greatest of all time, I'm sure. But at the same time, I guess it's the next generation. This is where, as a sport, we speak often about the future of cricket, the future of rugby, the future of football. We speak about you look at snooker and how it is becoming smaller. I remember, maybe it's just my perspective, but I remember as a kid, I used to watch snooker. I used to play snooker. I used to love snooker. Actually, it was something that I played quite regularly, and I don't know, now it's... And he touched on it there, but surely that's the point. They need someone. They need that pin-up almost.
But it's so self-defeating, because what he said there is basically, unless you are me, don't bother turning up. So what's he going to do? Just play against himself all the time? Play against maybe the 5 other people in the world who can seriously compete with him on a regular basis? What's the point? You know what? This is the other thing as well. I think what it is for Ronnie O'Sullivan is bitterness. I think that if he was as good as he is at snooker but at football, he'd be worth a couple $100 million by now. Same with Formula One, same with whatever. But because it's snooker, he's not poor, obviously, but it's not the kind of the game that brings the global attention in a way that football does, or cricket does now, I suppose. And I think that's what he's a bit bitter about.
Well, Steve Davis versus Dennis Taylor back in 1985, the World Championship final, had over 18 million TV viewers. Now, obviously, this is back in the time when I'm guessing there was, 4 channels?
Yeah.
So, but this is it as well, right? It's then all of a sudden we're in a world where, I mean, it's not like you've got 4 channels. You've literally got 4,000 channels, if you want to count YouTube and everything else. Probably more than that now. So there is so much competition. And the fact that snooker then hasn't had the branding. I look at the Premier League and where... I mean, they did it brilliantly in hindsight. The visionaries that then helped create the Premier League and the interest in it and the amount of kids now that, although I still think it's less than it was, and I think the computer games and all these different choices that kids have, they're playing all these different things. Still, the branding for the Premier League, the way in which they built it, it is now dominant in terms of world football. Whereas snooker, I don't know, it's just not fun.
Yeah, this is it. It's not moved with the times, but things fluctuate, don't they? You know what I mean? Things are popular at one point, and they're not anymore. Yo-yos. They used to be massive. Do you remember when yo-yos were massive?
Yeah, and you had the ones that did the spin off down the bottom.
Walk the dog. Right, absolutely. Yeah, not anymore, are they?
Well, I don't know. You just got me excited about yo-yos.
Absolutely, yeah, let's do this.
Okay, let's bring in a yo-yo. That's what we're going to do for the next couple of minutes.
I believe in traditional marriage. I've had 3 of them. This is Love Sport. The Novotel London Blackfriars, the official hotel partner of Love Sport. Located just minutes away from the city and London's famous South Bank. You can kick back and taste the flavours of the world at the Jamboree Bar and Grill and enjoy all the sights of London in style. The Novotel London Blackfriars.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Have you had enough of extortionate energy bills? A spokesman said could help you find the cheapest energy deals on the market. Don't take our word for it. There's hundreds of spokesman said customers who've saved big. Brian from Derbyshire saved £400 on his energy bills, and Tony from Northampton saved a massive £2,800 on his gas and electric. A spokesmansaid.com, the leading price comparison site where you can switch to the cheapest energy tariffs on the market in just minutes.
Thespokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realize that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
Love Sport.
That's what breakfast. Me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Now, we touched on the fact yesterday that Ronaldo has got to 700 goals, 2 of which were against myself. 698 weren't. That's the good news. Patrick, you've got some information on our friend Ronaldo.
Oh, absolutely, yes. So he scored 129 with his left foot, scored 442 with his right. The guy's obviously an absolute sensation. When you look at the breakdown of goals that he scored per club as well, 5 for Sporting Lisbon. Now, bear in mind this, Manchester United signed him off the back of a pre-season game where apparently he was so good. You can actually watch the game on YouTube. He was pretty good. Well, the likes of Paul Scholes have gone, I think we need to get this kid. When United signed him, he'd only scored 5 goals for Sporting Lisbon. Wow. 450 goals for Real Madrid, 118 for United, 95 for Portugal, and 32 for Juve. And actually, this is the key thing as well, which is the 376 home goals. But he's not really bothered about where he plays. 279 away goals, 45 neutral. It's brilliant. There's loads of these stats on him now, and it is just incredible. We're going to get stuck into those even more in a bit.
We are right now, because the writer of Ronaldo, The Obsession for Perfection, is on the line. Luca Caioli, how are we?
Yeah, Well, and you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Very well. I've got loads of questions for you. As you say, it's. I know you've written several books. Obviously, Messi versus Ronaldo, the greatest rivalry. Messi, Ronaldo, and Neymar head-to-head with the world's greatest players. A couple of other books as well involving Pogba and other great players too.
You pick good topics, my man.
You do.
Yeah,
you do indeed.
I like it.
There's lots of interesting information about Ronaldo that perhaps a lot of people wouldn't know. One that actually I didn't know was about the laser heart surgery that he had at age 15.
Yeah, the first things we must say about Ronaldo, he scored his first goal 17 years ago. And that is quite incredible. That's at 34 year, next year, is still scoring goal. I think Ronaldo, from when he was 18 years old and he started in Sporting Lisbon, a sort of transformation, a mutation of his style. I think we can be right now at the the Cristiano Ronaldo 2.0, a new version of Cristiano Ronaldo. It was the dribbler when it was a Sporting Lisbon. It was the dribbler, the number 7, the more quickly of the team when I arrived at Manchester United with Alex Ferguson, and now he's the top scorer. It changes the goal scorer. It changed completely his attitude. I think back of all that of 700 goals, it's work, hard work, and the obsession for working for new records, for beat the number 1 of the world. He said.
Yes, exactly. But I'm just quite keen to get you on this actual laser heart surgery. What was that? What happened there?
When? Sorry.
The laser heart surgery had it 15 years old, apparently.
Well, yeah. No, it was a problem, a heart problem, and it was solved. It was a really quite difficult moment for him, but we can remember that he had difficult moments, Ronaldo. When he left his Madeira to go to the Academy of Sporting Lisbon, it was really hard. A lot of moments. It was on the edge to abandon football, to come back to his mom and to his house and his brothers. And that's one of the first. He said that it was one of the worst moments, were difficult, and that the surgery it was quite to work really hard. You know?
Yeah, look, absolutely, and I know that his father was an alcoholic who died when Ronaldo was quite young, and then Ronaldo moved away, didn't he, for quite a while, as you've just said. So, do you think that maybe his start in life, and which wasn't the easiest, and maybe some trauma that he faced there, has led him now to this relentless, obsession with perfection, as you say?
But there is two things to say. Diniz, his father, came back from the war in Angola and Mozambique, and he came back in 1974, if I am not wrong, and he find the situation really difficult in Portugal and in particular in Madeira. It was so hard for him to find a job at this moment. For the crisis, the economic crisis in Portugal, at the end it was he started working in the garden, and then he have a little work with Andorinha, a team, a small team of the village where Cristiano started to work. Diniz, it was really, really important for Cristiano. If he followed him in his first matches, and Cristiano wants to demonstrate it to his father that he is the best. He is a great player, but like he said a few months ago in an interview in England, Good Morning Britain, I think, his father never saw Cristiano, his son, winning the Ballon d'Or, winning Champions League, be the best, one of the best or the best player in the world, because he died in 2005, alcoholic, in London, and Cristiano tried a lot of time to keep out from the alcohol, but there is no possibility. So surely his life, it was marked by his father and the death of his father and the alcohol, and his brother drugs also.
Wow. How many years do you think he can keep going for? He's obviously the age he is now. He's got 700 goals. Do you think he can get the record? Do you think he can get over 800?
Well, it's quite difficult to say. He wants, I think when it was still in Real Madrid, he said he wants to finish his career at 45 or something like that. In this football, in the modern football, it's quite difficult. But probably he wants to arrive to the record of Pelé. It was something, is the next objective for him, is the next goal for him to arrive at the record of Pelé. That is 767 goals. But it's not the best because there are other records. For example, Joseph Bicral, it was 805 goals. But we'll see. He must score more goals in the Juventus team than he made in the last year, because but I think it's not so easy to come back to the results he have in Real Madrid when he scored 50 goals for a season or more.
Great stuff. Luca, we really appreciate you coming on. That's Luca Coeli, Cristiano Ronaldo biographer from Spain, giving us his thoughts on Ronaldo. Of course, he has written several books. Do check them out. Messi versus Ronaldo being one. Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, head-to-head with the world's greatest players. A couple of others involving Mbappe, Griezmann, several other fantastic players too. Well worth checking out. Thank you very much, Luca.
How many countries are there in the world, Rich?
137.
195.
Okay.
How many countries do you reckon Cristiano Ronaldo scored against?
Oh, that's a good question. 40.
41. Yeah, good shout. That is incredible, though, isn't it? I've not been to 41 countries.
No.
Ronaldo's just conquered them.
Yeah.
He's fantastic, isn't he? He scored against 121 clubs as well.
Wow. Kieran Wellington is on the mic.
I am indeed, and I want to refer back. We asked that last question to Luca. How many years do we think he can continue? Because of course, we referenced this yesterday, and you thought he could score 850 goals by the end of his career.
No, okay, just to clarify, I said he'd get the record. I think the record's 110.
It's 802.
Oh, it was 802, right. So
yeah.
I voted between 800 and 850.
Yes, so that we're referring to the Twitter poll that we put out on our Twitter, at Love Sport Radio. How many goals will CR7 get to before he retires? And the four options were to score no more or up to 50 more, so 700 to 750, 751 to 799, 800 to 849, which is what Rich voted for, or 850 plus. Now, I will go from least popular to the most popular. So, least popular was 700 to 750 with 16%. 800 to 849 is next.
Wow.
And then 850 plus is second with 18% of the vote, but the runaway with 49% is 751 to 799.
Yeah, people think he's going to fall just short.
Look, I think he'll do it because he has lived his entire life. I mean, this book now, Obsession for Perfection, it kind of sums it up. We've seen what Rio Ferdinand and the like have said of him. He used to train with ankle weights on and do all this kind of stuff. I reckon that Cristiano Ronaldo would happily drop down various leagues or play in whatever country in order to beat that record.
Yeah, well, look, the chances are he's listening right now.
Oh,
so
big time.
the fact that he's heard this poll, that's the kind of thing he'll need. If he needs any extra motivation, then that poll that he's just heard with people doubting him will be exactly why he does it. 29 minutes past 8.
This is Love Sport.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it, sometimes we say we're fine when we're not.
But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Hi, my name's Kurt Edwards. I work in advertising and live in Surrey. Last year, the family content insurance was £745. A friend of mine had recommended a spokesmansaid.com. When it came for this year's renewal, I managed to get it for £403. So for those 10 minutes on that website, I saved over £340. I told my family, my friends, you'd be absolutely mad not to give it a go.
thespokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search 1U.
Love Sport.
Lost for breakfast, mutually. Patrick Christys here with you until 10. We're going to have Kieran Wellington for some funny stories in a second. Just to say thanks for all the messages that have come in. Several from Neil Down Under. Do appreciate your messages. He's touched on... Actually, we touched on the racism stuff earlier. We're trying to move on today. Want to be a bit more positive. Yeah. Of course, it is all over the back pages. But he just made a point.
Listeners have got a view, Rich. We should air it.
Absolutely. He said in 1993, black AFL player Nicky Winmar stood defiantly in front of spectators who had been racially abusing him and lifted his jersey and pointed at his skin, shouting, "I'm black and I'm proud to be black." And he's just given a few other examples of this. A West Ham fan, by the way, Neil. So, no, appreciate you writing in. Of course, you can always get in touch. 0208 70 20 558 at Love Sport Radio on the socials or on YouTube, as Neil has done. Kieran.
Yeah, thanks for that, Neil. Just want to throw to some stories that haven't made the back pages, but have made my interest. All right.
Okay.
So, Anderlecht. Obviously, Vincent Kompany, Man City lacking a centre-back in the shape of Vincent Kompany, because he went out there, of course, to be player-manager. Now, Anderlecht have been slapped with a fine because Vincent Kompany didn't have the correct coaching licence. So they literally appointed him as player-manager, made a whole song and dance about it, one of the most famous players, in European football. And, he didn't have the required diploma, which all Belgian coaches to manage in the top flight need a UEFA Pro licence, which Kompany still does not have.
Right.
Yeah, it just all seemed a little bit cobbled together, that thing, doesn't it? Because like you say, Kieran, rightly said, they made such a fanfare over it, didn't they? Vincent Kompany, he is now our project. Like he was going to be their Pep Guardiola, like he was going to set up the club from the bottom down and get it all the way up there. He lost something like 5 or 6 games in a row. He dropped himself, didn't he?
So what? So
they're
13th in a 16-team league. This is the biggest club in Belgium. 13th. Frank Verkauteren has been appointed as head coach, but just on match days. Okay. Right. So Vinny still takes training, presumably. Come on, lads, let's go train. And then on match days, he gets on that team bus. Come on, Frank, you can take the manager's chair, mate.
Strange that, isn't it? Yeah. Need someone just to fill in on a match day.
Is it arrogance? Is it a man who's been operating at the top of his game and captaining a club who's possibly the best club side that we've seen in Premier League history, who thinks he can just go back to Belgium, play for his boyhood club, manage it, raise it from the ground up, and that everything will be fine, it'll be a walk in the park?
Yeah, absolutely. But they've obviously known about this regulation, right? And this is another part of the story that adds to this, right? So Anderlecht are trying to squirm around the fine. So they have been handed the maximum €5,000 fine for this offence. But Anderlecht argued that Simon Davis, previously of Fulham, the Welsh footballer, the former Man City academy chief who followed Kompany to Brussels, was actually the head coach. Despite the fact on Twitter, Vincent Kompany is our player manager. Look who's back. The prince is back, But the commission used the club's own media statements and video clips of the unveiling of Kompany to refute this. So literally, in court, they were like, but you put this all over your social media?
Oh, man.
And Anderlecht were like, oh, yeah.
Is there similarities between Vincent Kompany and Thierry Henry? Thierry Henry, of course, going back to Monaco. And do you think so? I remember Teddy Sheringham taking over at Stevenage, I think it was briefly. And it's almost like, do you know what? I'll give that a go. And then the realisation that this isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Maybe there is something to actually managing a team.
Yeah. And being like essentially like trying to shape an entire football club. Isn't it? Because that's what Anderlecht were doing. They were trying to get that conveyor belt of talent. Because so many really great players have come through Anderlecht over the years, and they're obviously trying to shape that and change it again. But I just can't help but feel like it is a little bit arrogant to walk into your first ever job and expect to, be greeted like the Messiah.
Yeah,
you know?
And just to walk over teams. And what I would say, and this I suppose is the bit that people don't see behind the scenes, mention I do a little bit of work for Bristol City, so I'm aware of, like Lee Johnson, I use him as an example. No joke, he's up till 2 a.m. most nights just watching clips of players, watching football, he knows everything that's going on in the world of football. And I think now, if you're going to make it to the very, very top of your game, if you're going to be the best manager, you're going to be in the Championship, you're going to be in the Premier League, you have to live, breathe, sleep, eat football.
Lee Johnson's a really interesting one. Do you think he'll make it to the Premier League?
I hope he does. I mean, in terms of his having a football mind, he is absolutely obsessed. We're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo there, and the fact he's got to where he's got to from being obsessed. I can certainly vouch for Lee Johnson being very obsessed.
This is Love Sport.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
This is Love Sport.
That's for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Lots going on in the world of sport this morning. Of course, we touched on what a lot of the papers are talking about, the racism. I'll say debate. It's not really much of a debate, is it? But it's all over the back pages still, the fallout from Monday night. Lots of positive stories in regards to the England team and the 21s, who, of course, had a good victory last night. Hat-trick for Nketiah. Hudson-Odoi with a brace as well. We're going to be touching on that as well. But Billy Vunipola is back in training as he faces a fight to be fit for the game against the Aussies. I want to touch on this shortly as well, Patrick. Wales winger David Cottrell yet to apply for a charitable status for the foundation that carries his name. He owes over £400,000 to former players. It's turning into quite a big story, this. So again, we will touch on this shortly. And David De Gea has suffered an injury blow on international duty last night. So it looks unlikely that he'll be playing in the game against Liverpool, so we'll be touching on that shortly too. But before all that, there is, of course, plenty going on in the boxing world. We're going to be discussing WWE as part of this, a debut for Tyson Fury. Of course, Andy Ruiz Jr., those that haven't seen him, he looks like a completely different character than the one
He's half the man he used to be.
Literally half the man.
Yeah.
Do check out the pictures. Well,
he looks like he's gone from being like a fully stuffed burrito that you can get at the edge to like a vegan wrap.
Well, there you go. Well, someone who can give their opinion on this, of course, is Anson Wainwright, boxing writer for The Ring. Morning, Anson.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
No, delighted to have you on. I don't know if that was a good analogy that my co-host Patrick just gave in regards to Andy Ruiz Jr., but it is an incredible transformation. Do we know how much weight he's lost?
I don't, but as you say, it's an incredible transformation. The thing that'll be interesting is a few weeks ago, I think it was the start of September, he had an early birthday party. I don't know if you saw it on Instagram or Twitter, and it was pretty spectacular by looking at the pictures, and he looked like he was like his old self in that. And then this transformation has come along pretty quickly. But he's always been what he was in terms of fighting shape. So I wonder if this I'm not sure if this analogy will work, but remember Andy Fordham when he played darts, and he always looked like that, and then he got himself fit and he couldn't play darts anymore. So I wonder if this is a bit like Hercules having his hair cut. Will he be able to? It's no good him suddenly coming in totally different. He was that, to get himself in better shape. Yes, but it's
so some people work much better in short, sharp bursts than they do taking the Cristiano Ronaldo approach to things, which is just relentlessly being obsessed with chiseling yourself silly. And so, I do wonder with Andy Ruiz Jr., where he had such success against Joshua off the back of a very, very short notice period, essentially taking him on, that maybe, like you've just said there, he leaves it, and then a short, sharp, really intense burst, and maybe that's what we're seeing again.
It looks like, yes. Also, it's not as though the fight is this weekend. The fight's still, what are we? It's like 6 weeks or more away yet. So it's still quite a way away. So it will be interesting to see when he gets on the scale how he then looks.
I want to talk a bit of Tyson Fury. We all love WWE. In fact, are you a WWE fan?
Don't.
Yes,
No, we don't, mate.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
Were you not a WWE or back in my day? It was WWF.
Yeah, I remember
of course.
that actually. But until the World Wildlife Foundation got involved,
Yeah,
I mean,
they
for
weren't happy.
goodness sake,
They were
can't
not
do anything
happy.
these days. But yeah. I mean, you never saw a panda in the ring, did you?
This is
the
true.
The day a panda can rage in Hell in the Cell will be the day that I want WWF to remain how it was.
Are you telling me you didn't watch the fight between Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker when The Undertaker cheated?
Yes,
Clearly
I did.
cheated.
Yes,
Yeah, there
I
you
did.
go.
Do you remember when
Exactly.
Rikashi got thrown off the top of the cat? Anyway, sorry.
We have a
carry
guest on the line. We have a
Carry
guest on the
on.
line, Patrick. You need to behave. Tyson Fury, though, he is now a big part of WWE, it seems.
For the short term, it's quite interesting because he turned up, and the publicity that he will get in America, he was at, if I'm not mistaken, it was on Fox, which is the TV network that that put on Deontay Wilder's his next fight. So on the basis of that is the aim is to hopefully bring Fox and ESPN together for Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. So that plays into that wheelhouse. It's Floyd Mayweather did it, Mike Tyson did it. So this is just following those story arcs. But it'll be interesting to see, because when Floyd did it, he just went in and it was a bit of face down. With Tyson, he's not too dissimilar aside from Braun Strowman. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, whether they actually have I say proper in highlighting inverted commas. They have a real fight as such. I know we know it's soaps for men, but to what extreme they play that out.
Yeah. Obviously, in regards to this, what's the thinking behind it? I guess from a PR perspective, it's going to build his name in America further. Could it hurt his boxing credibility at all?
I don't think so. Looking at those who did it before, they went through the roof. Mike Tyson was already as big as he could get, but he went and did it. More recently, I think the most recent one would have been Floyd Mayweather, and that was where, at that point, Floyd's career went a sharp trajectory upwards, where he ended up getting those $30+ million paydays every time he fought, became a real superstar without having to be, in corporate America, and you see him on all adverts and stuff. And I think this is with Fury, because he doesn't take himself too seriously. I don't think it's going to make any difference from that point of view. It'll just make him more of a star over in America.
Yeah, it's. Time will tell. Obviously, apparently his promoter Frank Warren was saying that he didn't know about it, and you found out about it on the telly. Is there not a chance that Tyson Fury might end up getting injured? Because I know that we go on about WWE being fake and stuff, but there is a very physical element to it.
Yes, I mean there is that element, but it's only a week. Again, I say fight in the looser sense. It's only a week after the Ortiz fight. Well, he fights Deontay Wilder, so they're in a similar kind of holding pattern on the basis of that. I wonder, when I tried to look, I couldn't see clearly, but how the cut was looking when they did all the recent promos with the WWE, but that was more my concern. But yeah, I mean, there is an element of you, because you just don't know, but you could walk down the street and you suddenly pull a hamstring or what have you. So I guess there's all sorts of implications on what could happen, because again, I don't want to reveal too much about me, but I have watched WWE in my time, or WWF, and in those instances there were guys who would injure themselves and would be out with significant injuries for a large period of time. So very much so. But I don't know how structured it all was, whether they suddenly decided to do it and then they got him on there. Like you say, Frank Warren didn't even know about it, but it happened. It appeared to happen quickly, and it's escalated, and I think it will end at the end of the month. But it will be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think it will be good for his brand in America.
I struggle
because
with that.
When you look at it, you think, kids who watched on Saturday morning, they will see that sort of thing. A bit like a different kind of example, but Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell is known by grannies because he was on Strictly Come Dancing. So because he's known through different arcs like that, that helps him with his boxing. This type of thing with Fury being in America, by doing different things, kids over here will see him on Saturday morning TV, and over in America, people who don't see him will see him in a different light, and then maybe will look at his boxing career.
But this is, and I guess it's where it is clever PR, because it's boxing the brand. It's not just fame, it is the money. Of course, we've got the Joshua Ruiz Jr. fight in America. At the moment, the financial side of boxing is just huge. It's awash with money right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the basis of that, when you look at it, who's got the most personality to give to something like WWE? He's going to fight and he's going to show off his personality and do all wacky, crazy things. As Tyson Fury is right up his street. So of anybody, if you were going to switch him for somebody else, I don't think anybody else would be quite as at home with what he's doing as Tyson is.
Great stuff. Anson, really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very much. Cheers, gents.
Anson Wainwright there, boxing writer for The Ring. He touched on the fact you can get injured at any point. You can walk down the street and get a hamstring injury, one that I had regularly.
Right.
Yeah. I actually got injured in my sleep once.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
I woke up and my neck just gone.
Really?
Yeah, not
Gosh.
particularly pleasant. What's going on?
No, I was having a look at, actually, there have been a few deaths in WWE.
There have?
Yeah, there have been. The Blue Blazer died. There was an equipment malfunction. He was being lowered into the ring and it unclipped and he fell and died. And I just think if you're Tyson Fury, it's an unnecessary risk, isn't it?
I think it could be. I can't imagine that they're going to do anything too risky because there was a couple of other famous ones.
Yeah.
It ordinarily is stuff like that when they're flying them into the ring in different ways. It can be really, really dangerous.
The thing is that Tyson Fury strikes me as the type of bloke that would just say yes to anything. So like, right, Tyson, we've got this massive cannon. Sign me up. Sign me up. Yeah, and then he goes in it, just all sorts of stuff.
I'm surprised we don't have a WWE hour on Love Sport Radio.
I'm
Maybe.
not.
What do you mean?
I'm not surprised.
Why wouldn't I'd
It's
listen?
naff, mate.
Wow.
Isn't it? WWE.
Kieran, nod or shake your head. Have you watched WWE in your time?
Right, yeah, mate, you're on
He
your
says
own
no.
here, man. Tell you what, call in 0208 70 20 558. Try and sell WWE to me. I don't get it. Grow up.
14 minutes to 9.
An actor, a journalist, and a comedian walk into a bar, and they're all whining about Donald Trump.
Giving your team a voice. Love Sport Radio.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Can you save money on your energy bills? Tony did, with help from a spokesmansaid.com. Getting people real savings.
I'm Tony from Northampton. My bills for gas and electricity had gone straight through the roof. I chose a Spokesman Said, and they saved me £2,800. It was so easy, I used them for my house and contents insurance too.
For help saving money on your energy bills, go to a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10. As always, we're on WhatsApp, 0208 70 20 558. You can call as well. Sometimes Kieran will answer the phone when he's doing his job. We're on at Love Sport Radio on the socials. You can also tune in. Why not tune into YouTube? See loads of you getting in touch today. We do appreciate that. We'll read out as many as we possibly can. Kieran has come and joined us.
I have. You might have heard me boshing the microphone there with my newspaper. And it's because I want to get into this David Cottrell story, which I found really interesting this morning when I looked at the back page of the Daily Mail. Riddle over Cottrell's claim he runs charity. Now, I want to get your thoughts. Obviously, a lot of footballers get into business and, rightly or wrongly, they do well or they do badly. But let's unpick this from Cottrell. So, he's yet to apply for the charitable status for the foundation that carries his name, so I assume it's called David Cottrell Foundation, right? The Euro 2016 semi-finalist is already the subject of legal action from former players following the revelation that it owes them almost £400,000 after failing to repay loans and investments. Cottrell could now face further legal proceedings because a foundation purporting to, open quotes, educate and inspire communities to speak up, support each other and take action, close quotes, on mental health issues is not a registered charity. The David Cottrell Foundation was incorporated in July with Cottrell and his wife and business partner Wayne Matthews that have been listed as these associates. So I just want to get your thoughts on, obviously, something underhand's going on here.
Well, I mean, it doesn't look great. It's somebody that I haven't spoken to for a long time now, but someone I know and have spoken to and have met previously. I know that he puts a lot of posts out in regards to mental health, and it's quite well known that he struggled with that. I mean,
the website allows supporters to make donations. So, it's basically fronting as a charitable.
Do you know what? Without going into too much detail about this, because again, I know what we've read, which is pretty much what you've said. But what I will touch on is the amount of players that come out of the game, and the stats are staggering, and they're getting worse all the time. Depression, divorce, and bankruptcy. I think it's over 80% will get at least one of those three. That's the last I heard, and I think it's rising all the time.
Some might even hit the trifecta, isn't it?
What?
Get all three.
There you go. The what do we call that?
Sounds like a window into my future. Call that the Patrick Christys, to be honest with you.
This is what happens, Kieran. You try and make a serious point in this guy.
Sorry, were you?
Yes. We were going quite serious.
Okay.
And then,
Do you know what? And I'm quite open about I struggled for a year or so. And actually, my way of dealing was to completely disassociate with football for an entire year. And I in fact got involved in a coffee business and did a couple of other things that were completely separate to what I do now. You two mocking me with your hands?
I've seen the coffee video.
Yeah, we've seen it.
There's a video of Richard Lee on YouTube promoting his coffee business, and it is shockingly bad. Go and check it out. Type in. I'll tell you what exactly to type in.
We don't need to do that right.
Richard Lee.
Oh, we do.
We don't need to do it right now.
We do.
So anyway, the point being, back to the serious point that I'm trying to make, is that everybody deals with it in a different way. Some completely detached from football and never want to be seen in the football world ever again. Others realise that actually, I came back to this realisation that if you know it as well as you do, and you do deep down have a love for it, that there are so many paths within football. Now, from what I understand from the outside, he's had his struggles, and certainly coming towards the end of his career, like most players, that realisation that everything you've known since being 6 years old is taken away from you. And it's quite a hard thing to deal with. Like if you're, by the way, and he's done quite well to play into his 30s, but most players, I think the stats show that are a lot younger than that. I touched on this before without being too morbid. Like several members of my youth team aren't with us anymore. And it's horrible because.
Really?
But you imagine, at 10 years old, I got signed by Watford at 9 years old, 9 or 10 years old, and you do that for your entire. I was lucky to have a reasonably okay career, but those that actually don't get there, they get to 21 and get released. What next? You haven't got an education. You haven't got any money behind you.
It's your formative years. Those years from 10 to 25. Some of my best friends are from that period of my life because you literally grow up together.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's the same in football, but then that's all you know, right?
Of course. And that's why I look at stuff like this and it's horrible because it doesn't look good on him at the moment, and hopefully more news will come out over the next few days, and maybe it's not quite as bad as it seems, but it's not the only story like this. There was one, I think it was Macindoe a few years back, and I don't know how that ended, so I suppose I've got to say allegedly.
Yeah.
It was a similar thing, though, and it from what I understand, turned out to be a Ponzi scheme and what have you. But players will get involved in stuff like this, because as well, knowing David Cottrell to an extent, he's been playing championship football, knowing what the average wage is in the championship, you're going from an incredible wage to nothing, to then suddenly having to keep that lifestyle that you've built over the last 10 years.
I just want to dig down into this a lot more, because I know, certainly from my perspective, from people outside football, Rich, a lot of people think, how do footballers get bankrupt so quickly?
Yeah.
You hear of the likes of David James, who played Premier League football for decades, played for England, had a lot of caps for England, and declared bankruptcy a few years ago. Yeah. How does that happen?
Quite simply, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but I'll give you an example, I suppose a quite precise example. So let's say the average wage in the Championship is £500,000 a year at the moment. Well, of course, you get taxed, so you're looking at £250,000. And then, of course, if you're earning that kind of money, well, you've got the car that costs you £1,000 a month. You've got the house that costs you £3,000 a month. You've got the outgoings that are another £5,000 a month. You're spending 10 to 15 grand a month comfortably. What's that? 180 grand a year. You're saving 70 grand at the end of it. Now, if you've got the £1 million house or the £3 million house, even if you earn that kind of money for 10 years, you're still only paying off a quarter of your house. It's not like you're, 10 grand a week over a 10-year period. You should set yourself up for life. But of course, you adjust very quickly. The second you earn more money, the obvious things to do are the bigger car, the bigger house, the bigger outgoings, and a bigger life.
Yeah, we've just described that when we were talking about the sharehold loss that United have made, 1.8 billion, and Patrick went straight to cars and houses.
Yeah.
But actually, should footballers get more advice at a young age where they're just about to reach that precipice of the Premier League, the likes of Hudson-Odoi and then Nketiah, who'll be looking at big contracts? Do footballers need to? I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm just saying
they need the right
needs
people.
direction.
There's nothing about stupidity. It's pretty much any human being. The moment you're given the money, then is it, okay, put it into stocks and shares, or put it into the bank, or put it into something that's going to get you 3% a year, or go and buy a really nice car. We know what the exciting thing is. You need a certain mentality to do the right thing. Someone who I've got a lot of time for on this was Adi Mariappa. Won't mind me sharing this, but I know his dad was a really big part of what he's done and made him put 20% of everything he's ever earned away, and now he's in a brilliant position, and he's had an incredible career as well, but he's been so sensible. And don't get me wrong, he's lived, like, he enjoys himself and he spends a lot of money, but he's always made sure that 20% of everything he earns goes into a safe place, and it goes into safe investments. And I think that's where the financial education needs to be bigger in football. It isn't that big at the moment. You actually think of the people that surround a footballer, it will be agents, of course, it will be family members, and there might be other things that play there as well, where often players will look after family members and so on and so forth. So it's a really deep issue, which comes back to this story, which is, and again, without knowing too much about this exact example, but he's not the only one.
No, of course. And there needs to be financial education, full stop. This isn't just a problem that applies to footballers with multi-millions. This is a problem that applies everywhere.
It does.
In every walk of life.
How weird is it, right, that you can go through school
100%
and be taught about everything? Look, some of this is necessary, clearly. Things like your trigonometries and the various formula that go up to dictating, time versus speed and all that jazz. Was never very good at physics. You can go and I learned a bit of Russian at school. Some people learnt Mandarin. No one ever sat us down and taught us how to organise our finances.
So my 2 points are, you're right, money and psychology.
Yeah,
you think of the amount of
health.
issues we've got, and actually, I look
Especially
back
in this room.
I mean, it's off the
Dear
charts.
me.
No, but this is it. You think of the amount of stuff that you learn in school, all the different subjects, which is great, but you don't learn about yourself.
No.
Which is just bizarre to me, and I think that will change.
I learned about trickle-down economics. I learned about the kind of nuances of the Tudor family. I didn't learn about how to look after your mental health,
emotional intelligence. The one thing I would say as well, on just to finish, because I realise we've got to go to the news, would be it's a tough balance as well, though, because I think for all of that, we talk about maybe putting your money away and focusing in different areas. The truth is, while you're playing, you need to focus on what you're doing. I went into business too soon, and I hold my hands up, and I think that took my focus away from football. So I think you need to focus on what you're doing, but you need good people around you. And unfortunately, I would argue that most players don't have that.
This is Love Sport.
I'm Leslie from North Essex. I couldn't believe that after 5 minutes I'd saved over £900 on my energy bills. When my car insurance was then due for renewal, I went back to a spokesman said and reduced my premium by over £500. I thought that my home insurance was expensive. When I shopped around on a spokesman said, I saved a staggering £1,100. I've saved £2,500. I cannot believe it was that easy.
A spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
Lost for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. We're here with you for another hour, and what an hour we have got ahead of us, haven't we, Patrick?
Oh, absolutely, yes. We're doing it all, Rich.
We are. We're going to be talking rugby. We've got Ross and Milsom, Maul Over podcast, talking about World Rugby, talking about Scottish rugby as well in regards to the disciplinary community.
Scottish rugby.
Disciplinary committee. Yeah, no, we're going to talk about that. Of course, they had a bad day the other day. They did threaten legal action, never took place. We're going to be talking as well. Interesting game. North Korea versus South Korea.
Oh, this game was brilliant. Behind closed doors, no press, no fans, the whole thing. Brilliant.
Right, get in touch. 0208 70 20 558 or at Love Sport Radio. It's 9 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 9. Harry Dunn's parents have refused to meet the American woman involved in a crash in Northamptonshire which killed their son. They met President Trump in Washington last night and were told Anne Sakoulas was in the room next door. But they said any discussion should take place in the UK. Craig Barker, an expert on diplomatic immunity, says the White House doesn't want that.
I think the American government has repeated their point, saying that they're not going to allow her to return because they don't want to be seen not to be supporting their diplomats, even when the diplomatic immunity is ended.
British officials say Brexit talks that went into the early hours were constructive. They'll meet their Brussels counterparts again this morning ahead of a crucial EU summit starting tomorrow. Children as young as 4 are being caught taking weapons, including hammers and knuckle dusters, to school. Data from the PA news agency shows a 7-year-old was found with a 6-inch knife in Hertfordshire. The Duke of Sussex got emotional as he discussed his son at the Well Child Awards in London last night. Prince Harry broke down when he spoke about his journey to fatherhood, recalling last year's ceremony when he and Meghan knew they were going to be parents. He spoke as a patron of the event, which celebrates inspirational kids who have or have had a serious illness. He says being a dad gives him a different perspective.
As parents, being here and speaking to all of you pulls at my heartstrings in a way I could never have understood until I had a child of my own. No parent wants to hear that their child will suffer.
Sport and Celtic's Europa League game at Lazio will be played in a partially closed stadium. It's after the Italian club were charged with racist behaviour by their fans in their recent win over Rennes in the same competition. And Sheridan Smith has revealed she's expecting her first child. The singer and actress told passengers during a performance on a cruise ship that she's got a baby on board and is suffering from morning sickness. The 38-year-old is engaged to Jamie Horn, who she met online. That's the latest. I'm Andy Hayes.
Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning, Love Sport Radio, Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you for another hour or so. The brilliant Martin Bell is up after us. Just to touch on some of those headlines this morning, there's a lot in the papers, of course, about the racism on Monday night. The Bulgarian FA president, Miroslav Mihailov, has resigned over that particular night. Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett have avoided jail time after pleading guilty to drink driving. Good win for the England under-21s. They won 5-0 against Switzerland. 5-1 against Switzerland. Hudson-Odoi and Nketiah both on the score sheet. A bad injury for De Gea may mean that he misses the game at the weekend against Liverpool. Former Wales winger David Cottrell yet to apply for charitable status. It says that he may well owe $400,000 plus to former players. And Billy Vunipola is back in training as he faces a fight to be fit for the Aussies. Is myself, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10. Thanks again for all the messages that have come in. Thank you for the compliment, Neil, in regards to the last section, saying it was really interesting. He didn't realise it was
Neil
as high.
you?
No, generally.
I've got a feeling that Neil is you.
I could show you the screen if you want to look at all these messages we're getting.
Okay.
Or you could trust me.
Okay.
One of the two.
All right,
One of the two. Look, you guys can get in touch, of course. YouTube, lots of messages coming in. We do appreciate it. We are live on YouTube these days. Simply type in Love Sport Radio, or you can get in touch on WhatsApp, 028 70 20 558, or on the social at Love Sport Radio.
I'm thinking of doing a poll, and the poll should be, should Derby County's drink driving players have gone to prison?
Okay.
Because my opinion is yes. This is the story that shamed Mason Bennett and Tom Lawrence have avoided jail after pleading guilty to drink drive horror smash that left Derby teammate Richard Keogh unconscious and with a busted knee. There was also, by the way, apparently an 18-year-old lad in the back of one of the other cars who has not been named. So they've avoided jail. They pleaded guilty. Now they drink drove. They then fled the scene, came back, injured teammate in the back, etc., etc. And you think they'd filmed themselves drinking so much they were being sick into a urinal. You know, they were found to be way over the limit, the legal limit. I just can't understand. Do you not think, Rich, that like if they're walking the streets now, they're going back out playing football, but the only reason they're not in jail is because they're footballers.
That and luck, I'd say, because look. The issue is the lack of consistency. I agree with that. The fact that they have the best legal team, my guess, has helped ensure that this has happened. So for those that missed the story, 4 in a crash, Richard Keogh out for 18 months. Could have been a lot worse. His knee, if the pictures are, and obviously it's just alleged that the pictures are actually him, then he could be out for, he's out for 18 months. Whether he ever plays again, who knows? They fled the scene. So they had the crash, they fled the scene, they came back 45 minutes later and got arrested. There's all sorts of different quotes. It's worth looking online, reading the story, all sorts of different quotes. I suppose my thing is a lack of consistency. Of course, they've got the best legal team, so they've managed to get an outcome that certainly suits them. Yeah, they have to do a lot of community service, and yeah, they got a bit of a slap on the wrist. When I say luck, though, it's more the fact that but they've done the same thing. Now, on another day, they might have got home safely and been absolutely fine. So they might have then, no one would ever have known. Similarly, someone could have died here. And if someone dies,
Massively.
then all of a sudden... So actually, that's kind of, you talk about cause and effect. Well, they've done the same thing and they've got lucky, effectively. They've got a slap on the wrist, they've got a 6-week fine, and they've got to do a bit of community service.
Look, I had a mate who drink drove and wrote a car off. He was the only one in the car. There was nobody else involved, and it was on a very, very quiet cul-de-sac somewhere. He got the exact same punishment as this lot, who are supposed to be role models, who rampaged across a busy road, caused a big smash, actively injured someone, then fled a scene, and then were found to be more over the drink drive limit than my mate was. And they've got the same punishment. I find that a little bit skewed, to be honest with you. And you know what, actually? I think this is all going to come out in the next few days, the next few weeks, however long. Just wait, right, until the next time somebody who is an ethnic minority especially is caught drink driving or drug driving, whatever, around Camden, around Brixton, somewhere like that, and you watch them get sent down.
I heard an interesting one. This was a little while ago about an idea, because it's so easy to do the breathalyzer now and you get an instant result.
I've got one at home.
Right, so... And someone suggested the idea, well, surely, if you get in the car, there's something whereby if it takes seconds to do a test, that every time you get in the car, you do a test and you can't turn the car on if you're...
So some cars have that. So some cars, you can have it fitted as an additional extra. So one of my friends, again, when we were about 17 or 18, they decided they wanted to go on a road trip from Manchester to Scotland. Dream big. And and the dad said that they were only going to be able to go if they got the car fitted with the breathalyzer, and the car would only turn on if you passed a breathalyzer. Sensible thing. None of them drink drove. Fantastic. Why can't that be in every car? Because that saves police resources, saves police time, everything.
Sorry, hi.
We're joined by producer Kieran.
Hello, Kieran.
Hello. I'm in the studio to talk about the incident, but on that, Volvo came up with seatbelts. It wasn't it was the car manufacturer that came up with the idea of seatbelts, and then it was like, oh, these are actually like in tests, these are really safe. Let's put them in every car. This is exactly what needs to happen with this drink driving technology. If it's available, the government has a responsibility to keep people out of courts. You know, this is public money. Keep people out of courts, out of jail. You know, just fit it to every car. There's no advantage of drink driving at all. None.
No.
Zero. So fit these pieces of technology.
The fact is now, I was on this again. This is a few weeks ago. I can't really remember where I was driving to now, but I was coming back down into London one evening, late in the evening, and I was on my own on the road on a 4-lane motorway, and the signs are flashing 50, 50, 50, because it's this smart motorway thing. I'm like, for goodness sake, it's late at night. I want to get home. I don't want to speed. There's no need for me to be doing 50 on this. It's 4 empty lanes of traffic, right? But the fact is, someone could have been absolutely off their nut, just sped past me, hit me, and done whatever. Because despite the fact we're funneling millions or billions of pounds into these smart motorways, you can't just fit a breathalyzer in a car. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, just to develop the whole conception of jail time with footballers and not. Yeah. Obviously, I support Plymouth Argyle, and there was a high-profile case back in 2008, I want to say, with our goalkeeper Luke McCormick, who we were at championship level at the time. So you know, a very well-respected footballer. He was coming back from a wedding, had a row with his missus, came home. Was driving home overnight, so it obviously had, I think he slept and then, but it was obviously he was still over the drink drive limit. Crashed into an oncoming vehicle. The 2 children sadly died that were in the back of the car. They weren't wearing seatbelts at the time. The dad also had life-changing injuries. Luke got 8 years for that. He served half his time. As good behaviour, that's what you do. So he served, I think it might have been 7 years, and he served 3.5. So you know, it does happen, and there are consequences to these actions. And luckily for Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett, you know, they came away uninjured somehow.
Well, that's why I keep using the word luck, because you're given 2 examples there, and that's a great example. I remember that well, and Luke, who is now at Swindon, obviously it's changed him forever, and you know, I've got no doubt, absolutely deeply regrets what's happened and what have you. But it's horrendous. But the point is that I go back to luck. Mason Bennett and Tom Lawrence were lucky. They were lucky that, I mean, for a start, they were lucky in terms of the verdict, because as you say, I don't know, 90% of people end up going for prison for that. So they were incredibly lucky, you might say, for the verdict. They were lucky in that they've done the exact thing, if not worse, than Luke's done. Similarly, they could have been even luckier, by the way. They could have been even luckier, which they get home and they learn no lesson.
I once saw a woman get sent down for stealing a 75p scented candle. Yeah. Right, I've been in court loads of times. I've been in court. I used to be a court reporter for a while, and some of the things that you'd see people get sent down for. I used the example earlier of the woman who got sent down 3 days before Christmas. Her 2 kids are sat in the back of the courtroom, and it was something pretty minor. It was something really minor. And you think, if that happens, if that is happening to people, well, why are they not walking away scot free? You know, they could have seriously changed the guy's career here. He may still not end up being right. You know, you look at it and think, well, why do they get to walk free when, you know, someone who, with the best will in the world, is maybe of a different economic background, maybe of a different persuasion, a different upbringing, they get sent down all the time. You know, people get sent away for absolutely nothing sometimes, and this is just a lottery.
Yeah, and going back to the Luke McCormick incident, he still gets abuse. Dogs abuse. Yeah. On social media platforms for saying, you know, he should never have been allowed back in football, blah blah blah. This is just circumstances. He was, I don't know the exact figures, but he was probably at a similar level of over the limit as Mason Bennett and Tom Lawrence were, and it is just the fact that they crashed and no one died that they're not going to prison, you know, in the same way that Luke, unfortunately, in his collision, killed 2 people.
Yeah, exactly. And look, this is what it is. I would have thought now, though, that you would have expected the drinking culture, if there a drinking culture at Derby, to change. And I hope this just is a bit of a wake up for footballers, because you know we've had a few cases of it recently.
Well, do you know, and this is a pretty bleak section and probably not going to help things here. But look, probably one of the toughest moments that I've been involved in football was, and a lot of Watford fans will remember this, I think it was back in 2004, turn up for the first game of pre-season, bright sunny day, get to the ground, and the game's been called off. No one knows why. We walk up the hill, we get in the change room, everyone in floods of tears. A young Manchester United player that we had on loan had been involved in a car accident the night before and had died, and it was huge news. It then comes out several weeks later that he was twice the limit. And I mean, it was just amazing to see how the perception then changes as well, and it's so sad. Like, at the time I was at the funeral, all the Man United players were there, obviously all the Watford players. I think it was several thousand, if I remember, turned up at his funeral, because he was such a nice lad, such a promising player and everything else as well, and had touched a lot of people's lives. The moment it then came out that he was driving 120 miles an hour and he was twice the limit, you can imagine, like, everything changes, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, look, you kind of hope something good comes out of all of this. I don't know whether it will or not. Maybe it won't. It probably won't, given the fact that they've actually not been given more than a bit of community service. Yeah. I don't know, but it's...
They've been ordered to pay £80 and £95 legal costs, respectively.
Yeah.
What's that? Is that a few minutes' work for them?
Yeah, maybe. Well, we're going to be moving on from this. 9:15.
I gave Kim Jong-un the upper hand, but only a tiny one.
This is Love Sport. Are you being fobbed off by a company? Are they letting you down? And are your complaints falling on deaf ears? We can help you out. Come to aspokesmansaid.com and we will give you a voice and a platform to raise your complaints. As recommended in the Daily Telegraph, aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Are you paying way too much for your energy bills? A spokesman said could help you save big money. With electricity costs continuing to rise, you could save hundreds of pounds by shopping around. Just go to aspokesmansaid.com and look for the very best value energy deals on the market. Don't waste your hard-earned cash. You could be on a much cheaper deal. Go to aspokesmansaid.com.
Fighting for you, saving you money.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys here with you for another 45 minutes or so. Of course, the brilliant Martin Bell is up next. As always, you can get in touch, 0208 70 20 558 on WhatsApp, at Love Sport Radio on the socials. And I see we've got several people watching us on YouTube, lots of messages coming in. We do appreciate it. We do try to read out as many as we possibly can.
Only the clean ones, though. It's a family show, this.
It is a family show, so there's a couple of you guys. I'm sorry, I just can't read those.
No,
comments.
you just can't. I'm not sure there's a time in the day, actually,
No.
you can say that. It's smut. It's smut. And I know that Richard Lee's a good-looking lad. Okay, but can you just all control yourselves, please, people?
There you go.
Goodness sake.
We're
He's
gonna
not
be
even
talking-
into that.
If you want to find us on YouTube, simply type in Love Sport Radio. Simple as that. We're going to be talking a little bit of rugby now. Lots going on in the world of rugby, of course, certainly with the World Cup going on at the moment. Delighted to say we've got Russ Milsom, More Over podcast on the line. Morning, Russ.
Morning, gents. How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. Want to talk a bit about Vinopola. Also want to talk about Scottish rugby. In fact, what's the latest with that? They brought the game into disrepute.
Well, that's the allegation. That's what they've been charged with by World Rugby. Personally, I think it's a bit of a storm in a teacup, and they should have just accepted what the rules were at the start of the tournament and cracked on. As it turned out, they got beat anyway.
Well, it was a crazy situation. I guess they were. I understand beforehand why they were making such a noise, because there was that fear. But as you say, in the end, it was irrelevant anyway, given how well Japan played. I mean, would you have done the same in Scotland's situation?
I think it's one of those things that everybody would say, well, you've got to accept the rules, and those are what were laid down. But in Scotland's situation, I think they were just as desperate as anybody to try and give themselves the best possible chance. And you've got to think that, given the same situation, would England, would Ireland, would they have done the same? And I would be willing to bet that they probably would have done.
Yeah. Am I right in thinking there might be possible legal action to follow?
Only if the misconduct is found in the favour of World Rugby or against Scotland. I would think that they'll get a bit of a reprimand, just a warning of future conduct, and that would be the end of it. I mean, the fact that they've gone out of the tournament, it is almost punishment enough. The game went ahead. It was unnecessary distraction for the Scots, I think.
Yeah, no, indeed. Well, let's talk a bit about England as well. So, Billy Vunipola looks set to be fit for Saturday. From what we understand, he's back in training.
Huge boost for England. A fit and firing Billy Vunipola is up there with the best number 8s in the world. And, as much as when he has been injured, other players have stepped up, the likes of Mark Wilson, for example. When Billy Vunipola's fit, you're picking him all day.
How important is he? You mentioned he is obviously a big part of it, but just how important is he to this team?
He's huge. He does a lot of our big, heavy ball carrying, and he does put us on the front foot, which allows the likes of Ford and Farrell and Tuolangi to get those holes. So whilst, like I mentioned, Mark Wilson, Underhill, Curry, they carry well and they're industrious, they don't have the sort of ballast to punch those holes like Vunipola does.
Yeah, we'll come back to him. I want to touch on Japan, of course. They're a big story of this World Cup. They've certainly taken it by storm. Just how far can they go?
In all honesty, I can't see them getting past South Africa this weekend. South Africa have grown into the tournament, and I think that they've been excellent since the defeat to New Zealand. But the fact that Japan have come so far is a real testament to the commitment that they've put into it. The coaching of Jamie Joseph. I mean, you can see Jamie Joseph was a bit of an animal of a rugby player, in the best possible way. And you can see the intensity that he has instilled into that Japanese side. And if you look back over the last sort of 4 years or so, Japan have improved immensely. And I mean, when they came to Twickenham last year, we, albeit with a slightly weakened side, we only sort of limped past them when a lot were expecting us to put them to the sword. So, it just is testament to how far they've come.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a subtext actually to the England game, anyway, the England-Australia game, because England apparently have flown in this secret weapon called Ricky Stewart. So he was of the Canberra Raiders. He was their head coach for a bit, and when he was playing as well for them, he had to, at one point, had a pelvic injury. He refused to have surgery on it until the season was over, and he had to be injected with 2 horse needles, one before a game and one at half-time in the game, in order to try and get through the match. Anyway, so this just shows what an absolute hard as a coffin nail Aussie this guy is. Anyway, Eddie Jones has drafted him in. Michael Checker, obviously the Wallabies coach, has questioned the wisdom of this. This is clearly a tough, combative guy who is win at all costs. What's he bringing to the table here for England? Because, look, I'd not really heard too much about Ricky Stewart before.
Me either, in all honesty. And this stinks to me of some more of Eddie Jones's mind games. I think he's probably friends with the guy from old and from sort of in and around Australian rugby. I think that this is another sort of game of chess that Eddie's playing to get inside Michael Checker's head. I don't see a lot of what he can offer, other than sort of defensively, I guess. But yeah, I see it as a little bit of a game Eddie Jones is playing.
Yeah, well, a lot have been made of Michael Checker, Eddie Jones, the matchup. Jones winning all 6 of his previous matches against Checker. Do you think there'll be any psychological effect?
It's down to the guys on the pitch at the end of the day, isn't it? I mean, looking at England's record since Jones took over, the last time we lost to Australia was in the World Cup in 2015 at home. So strange things happen in World Cups, don't they? And Australia are a good side. They're not the Australia of old, but they've still got some exceptional players. So England are going to have to be on their mettle, even after an extended week off.
Yeah, they are. Well, Australia have said they're happy to scrum all day against England. Should we be concerned with that game plan?
No, not at all. Australia's scrum notoriously hasn't been the strongest, and again, I think that it's a bit of sort of a deflection tactic from those questions to say that they'll be happy to scrum all day.
Great stuff. Russ, appreciate you joining us. Russ Milsom, Maul Over Podcast, giving us his thoughts on the world of rugby right now. There's some breaking news we're going to touch on in a second. Got more messages in. We were talking earlier about the breathalyzer in the car and how that might make sense. Question, what's stopping your kid blowing in the instrument to start the car and then the drunk takes over? I guess
I suppose
there's logistics we need to figure out. We need to iron out this plan.
Look,
I think that's the point.
Yeah, that is something. But if a drink driver, but I mean the idea that you could find yourself going, Jimmy, just blow into that for your old man, will you? Go on, right, there you go. Right, fantastic. We're on. Okay, pour me another double, please. Cheers.
It's like the kid that maybe goes to an adult to try and get them to buy alcohol or something. It's the other way around. It's the adult kind of trying to find someone to, you wouldn't mind just doing me a favour. I need to start my car.
All right, look, Zach, don't tell your mum, but if you wouldn't mind just sorting the breathalyzer out for your old man, all right?
Some breaking news. Bulgarian police arrest 4 people in connection with racist abuse of England players during Monday's European qualifying sphere. They got them.
That's the Prime Minister. No, it's not. It's not. But yeah, I mean, look, I suppose that needs to happen, doesn't it? And just in some other news as well, there is a game being played, actually. In fact, I'll just double-check this before because it's changed on the Sky News ticker now, but involving Lazio, I believe, and some fans there with regards to racism. So I'll just be double-checking it, but I believe that Celtic are due to be playing Lazio, and that game may now be played behind closed doors or with partial limitations to the amount of people that are in there because of the racism of Lazio fans. So, again, it's everywhere.
Just quickly, 4 people, by the way.
Yeah.
4 people arrested, bearing in mind that probably see about 100 when we're watching it. You could literally see 100 people, at least, doing these chants. 4 seems a bit pitiful.
Yeah, it's just a token gesture, isn't it? This is it. It's a token gesture. Go, hello. And it'll be interesting to see as well what happens to them. I reckon they'll just keep him in custody a couple of weeks later, back on the streets. The fact is that this game, right, played in a limited crowd, okay, because of previous racial abuse, is then played, in front of that smaller crowd, and they still let in their ultras. Yeah. They had a flag that said, "We're the ultras of this football club." Like, what's going on? It's just nuts. Just stop them.
It's a fair point. What do you guys think? You can let us know on the socials at Love Sport Radio, 0208 70 20 558 on WhatsApp. Or like I see many of you on YouTube, by all means, drop us a message. The time is 27 minutes past 9.
Love Sport.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Henna, men.
Cage.
Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're right.
Secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're in.
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
Don't get caught out in the great energy price hike as large firms look to charge you more. If you want to save money on your energy bills, it's not too late to see what's on the market. With rising gas and electricity bills, don't get caught out wasting your money on expensive tariffs. A spokesman said we'll show you the very best value deals available. Check out aspokesmansaid.com and you could be using your savings to put towards a well-earned holiday.
With aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
There are fewer than 20 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
This is Love Sport.
This is Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys here with you for another half an hour or so. And Mr. Kieran Wellington, our producer, wants to have a word.
I do.
Hang on.
What have we done?
Trouble.
What have we done?
You've been very naughty, boys.
Who are we apologising to now, Kieran?
Yeah. We'll speak after the show.
Private.
God.
Come into my room.
Exactly. Come into the control room and we'll have a word. That's why I'm keeping my distance.
It's not the Saudi royal family again, is it? Because that doesn't end well.
No. We've paid them off, and that's why we have no budget.
Right.
So, living the dream. Football Manager fanatic given job at second division Serbian club after sending over his incredible list of honours while in charge of them on Football Manager. So this guy has literally right. So he's been given a job at FK.
Go on, take it on. You brought this up. You brought up this second string Serbian team, right? You better know how to pronounce their name.
Bezanisha from Belgrade. That's what I'm going to go with. Andrej Pavlovic, 22, led them to a string of titles on the computer game, and off the back of his virtual success, he was handed a post as a data analyst, which is fantastic, right? So, literally, he's a fan of the club, which I'm not going to pronounce again. He led them to 10 Serbian titles on the trot, a Champions League semi-final, and 6 domestic cups, right? And in reality, they got relegated last season. But Pavlovic's 16-season stint has landed him a job. I reached out to them with my achievements on FM and suggested I could help. I didn't expect that they would call me, but the club director rang up.
It's ridiculous.
We had a friendly chat.
So if Pavlova can get a job doing this, it just makes you wonder how many other people are out there that have had success on that game.
Yeah, loads. No, it's happened before. I'll find some.
Is there other examples of this?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there have been.
That can be used as a CV.
Yeah,
it's
so
incredibly worrying.
What does a data analyst do, Rich?
Analyzes
data.
What happens is you've got there's several big platforms out there. One being Opta. That's the one that a lot will know. There's another one, StatsBomb. There's a few others out there. Now, what they do is there's so much. You wouldn't believe the amount of data there is now in every game. Every single movement, every step, every pass is calculated. So whether that's the distance in which a player runs, whether I saw one the other day. It used to be pass percentage. That was kind of as high as the stats went. Now, I look at American sports, I look at baseball, and the amount of detail they go into, I would argue now football's gone above and beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. Pavlovic continued. I really couldn't believe it. I was shocked. But when we talked, they asked me if I could volunteer for them, as they are in a rough spot financially. So he's doing it on a volunteer basis. But still, he completed his first shift on Saturday. The side won 2-1.
Okay.
And he shared his findings on Reddit. So basically what he did is he detailed the number of attacks, right? So he's detailed the number of attacks that have come from the left side and the right side, number of dangerous attacks like you see on some betting companies, and the number of goals to come from the left side, the right side, or the middle. And then he did the same in the defence, and then he tracked the number of corners and the number of corners that ended being a dangerous chance. That's his work.
Do you know what's funny, though? People...
That's all he did. He literally counted.
Yeah, which, in fairness to him, if you're on your own watching a game of football, there's only so much you can do in real time. Now, if he's watching the video back, then spent 10 hours analysing the game, then of course he'd be able to get more. We used to have this, so when it first came in, I always remember A.D. Boothwood at Watford, one of the stats was how few goals were scored from outside the area. So for a period of time, we got banned from shooting outside of the area. And he also found out that there was a correlation between final third entries and the amount of goals you score. So all of a sudden, all we were doing was pumping the ball. In fact, Watford fans will remember this because we had a team of Darius Henderson up front, Danny Shittu in defence. Who else do we have? Oh, Lee Bromby, who had the longest throw in history. Ben Foster, who could kick it 80 yards. I mean, I don't know why they brought me in when that was effectively... Like from a centre, they would play the ball back to me. Everyone would squeeze up and I'd have to deliver it into the box from the kickoff. It was just incredible. But the whole point was he'd seen these stats and he'd read into the stats so deeply that he thought the final third entries meant we keep getting in there, we're going to score more and more goals. And of course, it didn't work.
Well, I've read about this. It's like the position of maximum opportunity or something. It's got like POMO. That's it. It's got like, and the theory was if you get it forward, like you say, get it into the final third, you're going to score more goals.
So where it was disproven quite badly was when we played away at Manchester United, lost 4-0, could have lost 12. And we had more final third entries than they did, but because...
At what point did he... Because this is what I've always thought about football managers, right? When you are in a position like that where you're telling your players, like, look, this is the way we do it, and you drill them into it and drill them into it and drill them into it, and then it just demonstrably doesn't work. At what point do they just go, oh, boys, I'm really sorry?
Well, it's tough, isn't it? Because I suppose once you've committed, which what happened was we got promoted to the Premier League, the realisation that we didn't necessarily have the budget that anyone else had. So it's like, how do we stay in the Premier League? So he said, well, we're going to play long ball and we're going to be the best long ball team out there. So he got players that could play that way and we kept doing it until we realised we were down. And then you don't do it.
Well, we've got a guest coming on the line. Well, fair enough. that's a good point.
We probably did it a little bit too long.
Yeah, it does sound like that.
We've got a guest coming on the line, but I want to come back to this because you've said you didn't have the budget, right? So you had to come up with an innovative way. We should look at Sheffield United. That's the most innovative thing I've seen from a promoted side with their overlapping centre-backs.
Yeah.
You've got Norwich, who play a very, very kind of pressing style. It's the kind of Gegen press that Jurgen Klopp brought over here. But then you've also got but you've also got Aston Villa, who are doing it fairly traditionally, I'd say, for a promoted club in terms of the defensive shape that Dean Smith. So I think we could unpick that a little bit. But yes,
that sounds good to me. We're going to be speaking to Steve Price, Korean football writer for Forbes magazine. Of course, North Korea, South Korea, the world's strangest football derby.
Love sport.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. We've got a very interesting interview coming up shortly. Going to be speaking to Steve Price, Korean football writer for Forbes magazine and in-match updates for FIFA. Of course, North and South Korea, the world's strangest football derby, Patrick.
Oh, this is just brilliant. So North and South Korea got drawn together in a World Cup qualifier, right? Can you imagine someone's... So you know the old heated balls trick? Right, in when it comes to football draws, get your mind out the gutter. And this is just classic. So they've been drawn together. So long-time foes, North and South Korea, played a World Cup qualifier on Tuesday, their first football match in the North in 30 years. But no fans were allowed in the stands, and Pyongyang refused to broadcast the game live, and there were also no goals. The last time the two sides met in a World Cup qualifier was in Seoul 10 years ago, when the North lost 1-0 before accusing South Korea of poisoning their players' food ahead of the match.
Yeah, incredible. Well, look, delighted to say that Steve Price is on the line and can discuss this with us. Steve Price, Korean football writer for Forbes magazine and in-match updates for FIFA. Steve, talk to us about this fixture.
Yes, I mean, it's not the first time that North Korea and South Korea have played. They play each other quite a lot. I think in 2010, for that World Cup qualifying, they played each other 4 times. But it is the first time in 30 years that they've played in Pyongyang, and the first competitive match in Pyongyang as well. So it seems like it would be a very historic occasion. Everybody's kind of excited about it. All the media and stuff are very interested, and there's a lot of build-up to the match. And then it seemed to be a bit of a dab squib in the end. There was no media present allowed, no fans from the south were allowed. I mean, that's probably not too surprising. And then, of course, when we saw the pictures of the game, there were no fans in the stadium either.
Well, did this game definitely happen? Are we sure this game has happened?
Yeah, I was at the time when we were looking at the updates. They were all coming through on KFA's Twitter account, and that's how pretty much most of the world found out what was happening in the game. So you think maybe somebody could have kidnapped the team and started sending tweets about what was happening to trick them. Since then, we've actually seen a little bit of match footage from the Swedish ambassador to Sweden, who's been tweeting some videos of the match. So that's pretty much all anyone's seen of it so far.
Well, it's bizarre, isn't it? Like you say, it
Never
was
been seen again.
It was minimal in terms of the updates. Were minimal, right? So it was just really basic updates, just yellow cards and substitutions. Is that right? Is that all that was given on Twitter?
Yeah, that's all we know. We know there's no goals, there's 4 yellow cards, and there were 4 substitutions. That's about it. Apparently, the game was quite a feisty encounter, and one of those videos I mentioned from the Swedish ambassador actually showed the players getting in a bit of a scuffle. So it seems like it might have been a classic kind of derby game, just without the derby atmosphere.
I'm not being funny, but how long is it before FIFA awards the World Cup to North Korea? Like, it's a matter of time. We've had it in Qatar. We've had it in Russia. How long is it before North Korea hosts the World Cup, do you reckon?
Well, they apparently Infantino is trying to get them to have the Women's World Cup in 2023.
You are joking.
And apparently he's the one who suggested it to South Korea for them to do a joint thing with North Korea. But if you look at what happened yesterday, perhaps 2023 is a little bit too early for that to happen. They're also considering Olympics bids, so that also could happen in the future. So, you never know what's going to happen.
Crazy. Did Heung-min Son play in this fixture?
Who's Son Heung-min? Yeah. Korea played their best side, and North Korea also played their best side with some of their players like Han Kwang-song, who actually plays for Juventus under 23s, but he was playing in Serie B last season. Son Heung-min was playing for South Korea, and both sides put out what I would consider probably their strongest side for this match.
Yeah, so can you just explain to me exactly how North Korea... Because North Korea actually aren't appallingly bad at football, right? I've seen them at World Cups, we all have, of course. They're not shocking. There's definitely worse teams, and they're currently second in their group behind South Korea. They are level on points as well, both on 7 points. They're in a group, by the way, it's worth pointing out, with Lebanon, Turkmenistan and Sri Lanka. So, But I suppose any group as well that North Korea's in, by the way, should literally be called the group of death, shouldn't it? But anyway, but with North Korea, how do their players train? Where do most of them ply their trade?
Yeah, and if you remember back when they qualified for the World Cup, they played so defensively, and they went through the first stage of qualification, the first group, without conceding a single goal. And that seems to be their style at the time. They're just very well disciplined. Most of their players play in Pyongyang, and for their club football, they're basically coached. The national team players kind of all come together and are coached over the course of the week by the national team manager, and then go back to their clubs for the weekend. So, as a national team, they all know each other really well in a kind of similar way that Iceland, their team was all really well organised, and the players all knew each other really well. They tried to play a bit more football a few years ago, and they started to look quite good when I last saw them. But then since then they lost it again, and they got in a new coach who's one of their old coaches, and they've started to play that defensive football again with, I don't think they've let in a goal in the last 5 games or so.
Is that because, and I think Manchester United could adopt a similar approach to this, if you let in a goal in North Korea, is that just the end of you?
Maybe, yeah. It's especially after that shocking performance in the World Cup when they let in 7 or 8 against Portugal. You're thinking, you don't want to do that again. You want to make sure you keep a clean sheet and, either win 1-0 or draw 0-0. And then at least you haven't embarrassed yourselves in front of the country, which is actually what a lot of people were thinking was the reason behind the stadium being empty. They didn't want to lose to South Korea and have everybody see them lose. So they thought, South Korea are pretty good, maybe let's have the empty stadium so we don't embarrass ourselves in front of any crowd.
Yeah, very interesting. The reverse fixture, will it be behind closed doors again, or in South Korea will there likely be fans, journalists, etc.?
In South Korea it'll be an absolutely normal game, full stadium, maybe not the away end, but apart from that it'll be just like watching a normal game.
Oh, great stuff. Steve, really appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, thanks.
Steve Price there, Korean football writer for Forbes magazine and in match updates for FIFA.
Sorry. Have you seen the footage of the North Korean newsreader where North Korea lost to Brazil at the World Cup in South Africa, where they clipped the game to make it look like North Korea had beaten Brazil and then won the World Cup?
Really?
Yeah, it is stunning. So it's on YouTube. You can check it out. North Korea newsreader. It appears to show it. So it's like Brazil are through on goal. Camera cuts, and it cuts to a picture of a Brazilian player with his hands on his head, like this. And then North Korea through on goal, shot, and then you don't see where the ball goes, and you just see a few of them appearing to celebrate. Well, it's like a different football match. It's magnificent.
Is it reasonable to question whether this actually finished 0-0? Given that no one knows, given that there was just minimal that's come out of just a few updates. Substitution, yellow card, that's it, 0-0. It could have been 5-0. For all we know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just don't know, do we? But few things on that. I was very much joking about FIFA giving any kind of international tournament to North Korea, and it turns out that's happening.
Turns out you've hit the nail on the head.
That's actually a thing.
Yeah.
That North Korea might host the Women's World Cup. So, oh gosh, FIFA. It makes me want to punch myself in the nose.
Well, I mean, if you want to, I could.
Oh, FIFA!
16 minutes to 10.
Monday is a truly awful way to spend 1/7 of your life, I guarantee it.
Giving your team the coverage they deserve. Love Sport Radio.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you for another 15 minutes. Patrick just telling me about some of his former co-workers. Sound like quite the characters. The brilliant Martin Bell is up after us. You don't need to go anywhere. For the last few minutes of our show, Kieran Wellington has joined us and once again brings us stories aplenty.
Talking of former co-worker. Oh, no.
Oh, it's a bit early.
Oh, whoa.
He hasn't got the email yet. Oh, no. Awkward.
Right, 10 minutes left, and I'm just going to have to sit in this studio, staring at you awkwardly.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Cut it with a knife.
All right. Pun of the day from the Daily Mail.
Okay.
The Bootiful Game. It's a story about football boots.
See what they did there?
Yes. 2 lads from Devon. There, go on, Devon. Buy retro boots and offer them to the pros. And Aubameyang, Xavi, Morata and co can't get enough of them. So this is 2 lads. And I actually know one of them because he plays for Plymouth Argyle.
Well, everyone in Devon knows each other, don't they?
Well, exactly. That's it. We're all a massive family down there.
Family
I got there first, Patrick. Don't even go there. I got there first.
The race was on.
Oh dear.
Go on.
We're normally quite good at racing down there in our tractors. Anyway, it is known as flipping. At least it was when teenagers Jake Self and Cam Sangster began selling football boots out of their bedroom and garage just outside Torquay. We were buying used boots and cleaning themselves at home to make them look as brand new as possible, Cam explains. We were making £40 a pair minimum, but we were selling maybe 2 or 3 a week. Now, their breakthrough came. This is a company called Rare Boots for You, and they buy rare boots on eBay, presumably, or just from other sources, clean them, make them look brand new, and it's all the retro stuff. Football boots is quite cool nowadays. You can really make a fashion statement. And their breakthrough was when Ethan Ampadu used to play for Exeter City. He's now gone to Chelsea. And Ethan obviously knew about these boys from, we're all friends in Devon. And Ethan's gone up to Chelsea and basically said to Alvaro Morata, have a look at these. And, they met Alvaro Morata, sort of sold him some boots. And now the world's their oyster, essentially. And, Morata's got them in touch with the likes of Xavi and Aubameyang. But apparently Nike have told Neymar and Mbappe they're not allowed to wear these boots because they're all. But
there you go.
They are making a fair bit of money.
Do they wear them in games, in actual matches?
Well, that's a good question.
Because I would have thought that with the new technology, with the boots and things like that, it might be quite, probably be more lightweight and all that jazz.
Yeah. Well, Benzema, the contract that he has with Adidas means he incurs a fine every time he doesn't wear the brand's newest boots. So it's actually probably more contractually that they're not allowed to wear them in matches than any sort of, although I'm sure the technology is there. So this is more of a brand type thing in training, I guess, and stuff like that.
It is funny, though, the association. I still remember certain pairs of boots I absolutely love. The thought of the old school Preds that had the band underneath the tongue, used to go quite far down the boot, and like when you just put them on,
they're still my favourite.
Do you know what? It's just that I always remembered, like when I got them brand new, you put them on, and you just felt good. And this is it. I can understand exactly why a lot of these.
Looks good as well.
Cheers, mate.
Let's be. Oh no, so one looked good. Everyone that wore them looked good.
Yes, I see what you were trying. Yes, of course.
Yeah, but I mean, you definitely did. Though, don't get me wrong.
No, thank you. No, the other one I love was when white boots became. The thing is now everybody wears every colour under the sun. But when white boots first became an accepted thing, for a long time they weren't. It was black boots. You had to have black boots, and if you didn't, you were seen as a fancy Dan and whatever. But then all of a sudden, the white boots came in a big way. I love the white boots, white goalkeeper gloves combo, and you kind of ended up trying to personalise your kit to an extent. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and apparently it didn't stop Benzema wearing the classic F50s for most of the season. He just took the fine. Right. He was just like, all right, Adidas, that's in my contract, but I'll just pay the fine. So basically, Cam Sangster continued to explain why this is such a big deal. Morata's put us in contact with so many players. One morning I woke up and Rakitic was messaging me. I was like, this can't be real. Soon they took several pairs to the midfielder's house and he drove them to the Nou Camp for a Barcelona game. This is a 19-year-old kid, right? Players keep calling because the boots they want can no longer be bought in shops. Cam says Nike and Adidas can't even supply their own players with these boots. So what has begun as a pound shop garage sale has morphed into a phenomenon. Where they get the boots, they won't say, apparently. Top secret. So they won't actually say how they get hold of them. But why would players pay for old boots when they're paid millions to wear the newest models? Simple. There's the plasticky material of modern boots, and then there are memories, as you were saying, Rich. It's just the kind of nostalgia behind it. As soon as they see a pair of boots they wore as a kid that they can get brand new again, no one says no. We knew what we could accomplish, but we never thought it would blow up. And apparently their dream is to open in London, open a big warehouse and a store here. So that would be really exciting.
Got a mate who's gone into the retro football shirt business. He makes absolute killing.
Really?
Yeah, real serious killing. It's a thing.
It's clever. The boots, when you hear it now, it seems kind of obvious, but the fact is, it'd be interesting to know. Like I said, they can't say where they get them from, of course, but they must have. Obviously, they must have an incredible
I've just got
contact.
This brilliant idea of you go around to his house. You're like, can I just nip to the loo? Yeah, second on the left, mate. Second on the left. Yeah. You accidentally go into the third on the left. And there's just the door opens and there's just hundreds of little people working in there.
No, Patrick.
No, thank you.
No, there's not.
No, there isn't that. Unless by little people you meant people from Devon, which of course,
No, I meant like Willy Wonka's boot factory.
Okay.
Oh,
that's what I meant.
Yes.
Anyway,
all right.
Let us know what your favourite boot is.
0208
70 20 558.
All that kind of stuff, actually. So my brother, my brother's he's a bit of a gamer, so he's like got all the.
Can't say that anymore either.
He plays computer games. He's recently got a console that's got all the Super Nintendo games. So the other week I went over there and we ended up playing like Super Mario Kart and some of these classics. And it is, even though they look ridiculous now, bearing in mind what you're seeing and the kind of computer games that are out now, it's just that feeling. You start playing again and hearing the old music. It's amazing.
What is it about like retro stuff, like vinyl's back?
Yeah.
Like why does stuff go in cycles? I don't really get it. Like surely with all this new technology, everything should be bigger and better.
It goes back to that. This is going to be me being a bit geeky. It's the fact that it evokes a certain emotion. Like I remember being a kid playing Super Mario Kart again and again and again. You just try and beat the records every day.
Yeah.
So playing this game and being like absolutely loving this game, being with my mates. I don't know. It takes me back there instantly the moment I see it. And it is that. It's the association goes back to the boots. I remember putting on those Preds for the first time and being like, wow, I've just fallen in love with a pair of football boots.
Yeah, exactly.
It is that. It's very clever.
What biggest rage have you had playing Super Mario Kart? Like outburst of like
emotion? He's done it all.
That's the story. The amount of times that my brother was about to win, I turn off the console.
It's
all the usual kind of.
But that's quite
really funny. But you're actually not that nice of a guy.
It's not that I'm not a nice person. Okay, it's something that I've worked a lot on, and I'm pleased to say I'm over it now. I'm in a good place now. But when I was younger, you know, whether it be, you know, a game of mini golf that turned into a huge fight with the family or
Well, I can relate to this actually because I've smashed PlayStation controllers on the floor so hard they've broken. Just thrown them on the hard floor that they've broken. I've lobbed a sand wedge over a bush because I played a really terrible shot and just hooed it right into the adjacent field.
Yeah.
Like I can't really
Did you
relate.
go and get it?
Yes, yeah.
That's the tragic bit about that. When you find, because I've done that, when you find yourself in the shrubbery, just marching through, I better go and get that. Yeah. That's when it really comes
It's
back
the
to
instant realisation of the consequence of you doing it, isn't it? It's like,
the instant regret of when you just snap that club over your knee, realising that it cost you a lot of money. And it wasn't the club's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, there you go. But it's something I've worked on, so pleased to say, over that now. Those were the dark old days. Anything else, Kieran?
Well, I just want to go back to Patrick's Southgate for PM measure.
Yes.
Because we've not done that, and we need to finish the show with that, I
It's
think.
gained some traction. We have had several messages in today backing Patrick. We're going to have a poll today.
Should we have a poll? Yeah, why
We'll have a
not?
poll.
Why
We'll have
not?
a poll.
Who would you vote for in a general election? Boris, Corbyn or Southgate?
Yeah.
I've got a feeling Big G's going to do pretty well.
Why don't we just rig it? Like, who would you vote for in an election? Like Mussolini, you know, the thing off the Goonies, or Gareth Southgate. Just really managed to get the result we want.
He gets 100% of the vote. Although the Goonies, by the way, that's another one. That will evoke in him. What a film that was.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, no, but right, okay, so look, just very quickly, my take on Gareth Southgate should be our next Prime Minister. Well-dressed, dapper, and we know that the public normally vote for a good-looking person. It's a sad fact, but they do. And the way that he's conducted himself over the racism issues, he's a leader of men, he's essentially a diplomat, he always gets the job done, and hey, he does well for England on the world stage, and don't we need a bit of that?
There you go. What do you guys think? You can let us know. Motorway 7020 558 at Love Sport Radio on the socials. Or like many of you have done today, you can get in touch on YouTube and simply let us know your thoughts. Are we going to put a poll out today?
Yeah, let's put a poll out. Who would you vote for in the next general election? Boris, Corbyn, or Gareth Southgate? What party would he come under? Like, we're going to have to create a party name.
Oh gosh, yeah, we'll have a think. We'll do a big section on it tomorrow. I'll do a big section on it tomorrow. We'll get some political experts on.
All right.
I'll get a couple of MPs on to say why they think that Gareth Southgate would do all right, because I reckon a few of them actually would as well.
Sounds plan.
Great stuff. Kieran, as always, thank you. Patrick, thank you. I'm actually heading up to Scotland today.
Oh gosh, you're right, mate.
It'll be fine. I'll be back tomorrow, though, with you, 6:30 in the morning. Thanks for staying with us. Martin Bell's coming up next. You don't need to go anywhere, but we'll be back tomorrow at 6:30.
Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving,